It is time, my friends. It's Shadowverse time. And that means it's time for me to go crazy about some of the players we have today. The North American Round Robin kicks off week two, good. Doing very well here. I'm Rainey, joined by Molly Rogers and Justin Carter. I like that. Ever since yesterday, I'm just so down for... And you guys have the coolest name. I actually can't. I'm really jealous. We have Andre the Pickens, Justin the Carter, and Molly the Wait, Molly Rogers is catchy enough on its own. I don't think there needs to be a the there. But
yeah.
Joining us for some cool commentary action. And so we've got a lot of tournaments today for you guys, a lot of tournament games to watch. Let's take a look at the format to see what the Season 2 of the Shadowverse Open is all about. So we gather the top 12 after 3 weeks of Open qualifiers. These top 12 players are split into 2 groups of 6, where they will play out a single round robin. Each player plays each other player, and at the end of it all, we find the top 3 based on their win-loss record, and we put them into a double elimination playoffs bracket. So that's Group A and Group B, 6 players into this bracket. And they will play out for $16,000 worth of prize pool. Yesterday was Europe, today is North America, so that's per region. You know, we saw a lot of really cool things in the European round robin. I hope North America can live up to that. And based on what I see, I'm a little bit heartbroken. But also, what happens... Okay, so, as we all know, he's not in the room here, so we can say whatever we want. But Aya Senpai is really, really adamant that Forestcraft has no chance. And, you know, a thinking man would say, you're probably right. A gambling man would probably say, well, let's talk about it, right? That's you right there. Envy, you don't think we can talk about it? We can't. Let's talk about it. No? He's
anti-sword too. He's anti-sword and forest.
Oh, okay. So you're against him too. Okay. So we're all collectively against Aya Senpai today. All right. 3 forest craft decks that were brought here, but 2 of them are banned. Ugh.
Why?
Yeah. I can't. Well, we'll get into all of that in just a bit. There are actually some really cool decks heading our way. But let's take a look at the standings to see how the North American tournament is looking right now. Cure, Mango, Underwear, and Gengar tied up in Group A, which will likely be broken today. Mana Surges, Jay-Z and Noah, and BanHackRocks there on the bottom 3. 1-1 for Jay-Z, 0-1 for Noah, and 0-2 for BanHackRocks. And over on the right side, we've got Les Pancake and Shadow Nexus's CarePackage, all tied up there. Then SprayQuaza, BoltTools, and DocHack tied up there on the bottom 3. So we're going to have a little more parity after today's tournament. And then as the weeks go on, that's going to be more and more true. But I got so excited about the decks because I saw some things that I personally have actually never experienced. I've never been on the receiving end of a PTP Forest deck. Path to Purgatory. So,
really?
I have actually never been on the receiving end of it. I've only heard legends and tales, and I've seen people cry.
That's my favorite deck the game has ever had. So,
it feels like you're having an easy time the whole time until they beat you, and you're like, wait, how did I just lose?
Not so easy.
You basically just do nothing for the whole game, and then you drop.
Yeah.
Your opponent wonders what you're doing, you know, why you're just not doing anything, and you slap down PTP. And used to, you had to click on their deck to check their shadows, and they just hover over, check the shadows, and they're like, oh, I lose.
I can't believe I've done this. That's the.
Can't believe this happened to me.
But it's very relevant for our first match here, because if we go ahead and take a look at the schedule, we've got Cure Mango versus Gengar first up, and then Jay-Z versus Underwear, Noah versus BanHackRocks, BoltTools versus DocHack, Care versus SprayQuaza, Left versus Pancake, and then Pancake versus Care. But Cure Mango versus Gengar, if we go through the decks a bit, one of the decks that was banned on Gengar's side is Forest Roach PTP.
Mm-hmm.
So you actually don't get a chance to see it today.
You don't get a chance to see it. Oh man, and maybe after the game we could talk a little bit about how that deck plays out and works. But let's take a look at some of the other things that will be fielded. Gengar upholding the old school. The only thing that's not old school about Gengar's deck list is Dragon, because Dragon was never a thing until Tempest of the Gods, as I recall. But Seraph Haven. Now, I know this comes, it comes up every now and then it disappears and it shows up. Why is Seraph Haven like the father that, sometimes doesn't come home and then sometimes returns, whereas Aegis is like the stable parent for Havencraft, you know what I mean? What makes Seraph Haven in and out of the meta? Why do people prefer Aegis over it? What are the differences? And maybe Envy, you can talk to this.
That's quite the comparison you went with there. I think you said it actually. Aegis is stable, and Seraph can leave you. It can be removed with a giant lance off the board. So that's pretty much it, literally. So
stable parenting is the best kind of parenting. Exo, are there any other thoughts? Why would Seraph be better than Aegis? Is there any situation where Seraph is more improved over Aegis?
So Seraph, it has an earlier game plan, like it doesn't try to go as late as Aegis does, and it's really just a meta deck. Like if you know what your opponent's bringing and you think Seraph, if you need that extra turn or if you think they can't counter it or something like that, it's really good. It's also really good in the mirror. If you think your opponent's bringing Aegis, if you bring Seraph, it's almost an auto win. So,
and just for the viewers out there, Seraph is a amulet that has a 1 turn countdown, and each time it counts down it brings out a new amulet, and after it does that 4 times it brings up the last amulet, which has the effect once it dies you win the game. So it's basically a 4-turn clock, and the idea is that there are cards in your deck that speed up that countdown process so that you can just kind of move that amulet forward to the point where you win. And then Heavenly Aegis is basically just a big dude who won't leave you alone. You try to you try to close your door, you lock it, and then he's looking in your window. Close the shutters, and he calls you on your phone. Just the worst. Heavenly Aegis is just the worst kind of person.
He's the big bad wolf. He blows your house down and he doesn't stop.
Yeah. Yep. Hey, that's
These comparisons.
That's a good theme. Based on Wonderland Dreams. That's a great. I like that. You're a thinking man, Exodium. You're a thinking man. But hey, if you guys want to talk about how poorly we're doing in terms of these analogies and comparisons, you can go to @ShadowverseGame and tweet at us and tell us how badly we're doing. #NSVO with who you want to win. Is it Mango? Is it Gengar? Or is it anybody else in the North American round robin? Make sure you engage with us on social media. You can also find announcements and all sorts of other cool content kind of linked through that Twitter account. Also, if you go to the website, shadowverse.nge.io, you can find information about the tournament, as well as you can find all the deck lists of these competitors. So if there's a deck that you want to try and you want to play, go to the website, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you can find what all these players are fielding. Also, there are videos out there that you can check out of people talking about certain deck lists. If you go to YouTube, you can search people's channels. There's a lot of people who make a bunch of Shadowverse content. These guys included, Envy and Exodium do that as well. But also check out content from people like Ignatius, who takes directly from decks played in the competition and talks about that. But we're jumping into our first game, Mango vs Gengar. Guys, talk to me about who you think has the advantage, how this game is going to play out, and why is USA or Canada got to beat one or the other?
I guess you're looking for a fight.
Well, I'm not going to go into USA versus Canada, but I think Gengar has a slight edge, mostly because he's been a long-standing competitive player all the way back from the beginning, from what I can remember the tournament scene being with the EXG tournaments. Not so much any longer, but he's had a good run of it. What do you think, Envy?
I definitely agree. It's hard for me though, because I've been casting both of them for so long. I gotta cheer for both of them, but I can't. So yeah, I'm just kind of indifferent. Whoever wins wins.
That's fair. So looking at the starting hands, it actually looks like Mango has a perfect on the play Alice curve against Dragon, which is exactly what you want to see against Dragon. But Gengar also has good reactive plays in Dragon Warrior and Sybil. and Fervor, so he's got pretty much everything he wants to. Like, how do you think this game's going to shape out?
That's true, but as we can see, this Alice curve is just... It's starting and it's not going to relent anytime soon. He's got Hector next turn, so...
And a very, very good odds, I would imagine, at getting the benefit from Hector as well, having 3 other neutral cards in your hand.
Right. It's Dragon Warrior's going to come down and try and do what it can, but I mean, if he doesn't draw the trigger for Hector here, this is actually pretty good.
What are you doing?
Yep. Without the trigger here, he's going to have to evolve to kill the Dragon Warrior, but he does. He gets there.
Yeah.
On the warfield, a shining helmet.
Easy peasy. So basically, for those of you who don't know, like the way this matchup goes is, CarePackage playing a very aggressive deck, and it's trying to end the game as fast as possible. It does have some late game potential in the fact that it could draw cards like Felice, which is a big Storm follower. It could draw into more Hectors to deal damage to face. And Dragon's really trying to get to that end game where it plays its big followers and just pushes over once it establishes board control.
Right, end game being mid game for most other decks. It gets there through ramp.
Right.
And he has a pretty good hand for answering this. Even though if he wants to play Sybil this turn, he would have to evolve her in and lose her. He does have Breath, though, so...
Yeah, I kind of like the Dragon Warrior this turn because it opens up either Fervor or Sybil plus Breath next turn, which is, I'm pretty sure, going to take over this game. I don't see Cure unless he draws something a little bit more efficient than these 2 and 3 drops to actually compete with what Gengar's doing.
That's true. This sometimes happens with the neutral deck. It just kind of draws, I guess you could call it duds after a while.
Yeah, like basically you get that perfect curve to start with, and then you just keep top decking 1, 2, and 3 drops, and you're just like, crap, how do I finish this game?
Yeah. You're drawing goblins and Lyrials, and you're just like out of evolves, and not even Alice to buff them, and it's just like, you know, they don't do anything.
Now, to say, Gengar doesn't really have a lot of his late game options yet, but he does have card draw in the fact that he has 2 Fervors in his hand, which gain 3 life, draw 2 cards, and ramp you. So he's still playing the draw into game, but so is CarePackage. So realistically, this is just an off-the-top game, because Gengar is at 10, so any good top decks, especially if CarePackage is running cards like Gilgamesh, which I've seen become a lot more popular these days.
Gilgamesh is, he's not making a comeback since he was never actually a thing, but he's becoming kind of popular.
Right.
Ooh, there's Oz. That's exactly what Mango wanted to find. He needed to find cards that, you know, did something. So the draw was strong for him.
That's right. This Wizardess of Oz is the Draconic Fervor on steroids for Neutral Rune. It puts you up to 5 cards in your hand, reduces all non-spell boost cards to 1 so that you can get a good tempo turn.
Another fiction.
Exactly. Both players getting, well, Dragon's already on 10, but Mango getting close to 10. He does have Grimner to hit the board for 4. It doesn't hit face anymore, but hitting the board for 4 is not bad.
It'll pretty much clear up anything that CarePackage has. That was a perfect draw. Now he can actually play that Wizardess into Dance of Death, yeah. Although, if you're CarePackage, do you want to save that Dance of Death for maybe a Bahamut or perhaps the Zeus that's going to come into play, or do you think he's just going to pull the trigger right now?
I think you kind of have to save some stuff. Ramp Dragon's been something we've been playing against for a very long time. Yeah, he's going for the board control with the Sybil here. This is just, you just kind of have to... Ramp Dragon can grind you out, but you have to play around their threats. You can't just let Zeus blow you out of the game.
Right. And we see him flood the board. He knows that his board might get taken away here, but he drew another Wizardess of Oz to refill the hand, so he just wants to dump. Basically, just get all the value you can out of his hand, refill with Wizardess, and just keep continuing. That's one of the strengths that Neutral Rune does have.
Exactly. Goblin Mage finding a Lyrial. He does have Alice too, so this is not bad, although a second Grimner is just gonna...
Yep, second Grimner wipes this away and just continues Gengar's push here. And now he's got the Sahakul with the Zeus for an extra 10 damage. So Zeus by itself, very good. It's a big 5/10 Storm follower with Bane and Ward, so it's really hard to deal with. And with Sahakul, you actually get an extra use out of Zeus if he needs it. But this game is looking like it's coming to a close pretty soon here.
My Tempest shall
Right.
judge you.
Which is kind of what Ramp Dragon just does, makes things come to a close. It's been a while since we've seen Grimdar Wars, too.
That's
When's
true.
the last time you saw Grimdars go?
That's true. Okay. Well, that Grimdar actually did stave off Gengar for a turn. I don't think he's gonna go with the Zoo. Oh, never mind. He's gonna use it to clear board instead of go face, which is perfectly fine.
You do tell your opponent that you have the Zeus, but it's like, you know, Mango assumes you've got something. It doesn't really matter what you show them at this point. Ooh.
Okay. That's pretty good. That can push. Now, if you notice, Gengar went from 10 all the way back up to 19 in the interim of CarePackage just kind of bricking here, so CarePackage's got a lot of work if he wants to try to win this game.
This is, again, Ramp Dragon's second specialty. They just keep playing healing cards while while you try to keep up with the big things they're playing.
Right. And I think Gengar's only mindset right now is, I'm just going to keep playing threats to force CarePackage to play his, you know, mutagenic bolts if he has them, Dance of Deaths, so that he can then play his Bahamut or Zeus to end the game. So, right now we're just seeing a card trade-off type of game here.
Although it will take a while to get Mango out of value like that, since he did just draw another Felice, and he also has the Wizardess to make dance. One, he does just play Wizardess though, only drawing 2 and they're goblins.
Ooh.
Oh god. That is
I don't mean to laugh,
disgusting.
CarePackage, I'm sorry. But I know how that
That's
feels.
terrible.
Yeah. Goblin's not a card you want to be drawing on turn 10.
It triggers Hector, at least.
That it does. He kind of put himself in a situation where he can't dance and also kill the other Sybil, so he's just gonna have to deal with that.
Right.
He also has to make the
any
decision
face
if he
damage
wants
he
to
gets
keep the
is
Goblin.
just-
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. So he goes face here. Sybil just heals 3 of that, though.
Oh wow, another Sonic Well. I imagine his
That's
turn's
actually
just gonna be
great
the
for
same.
Gengar. He can just... Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, he's actually gonna play the Zeus out. Flat out.
Interesting.
Interesting.
It's another fiction.
Yeah. I
Not sure
guess
why he wouldn't
wanted
want to get the
keep
extra use out of the
ward.
Sonic Well. Yeah.
I think he wanted to keep the ward on the board to protect Sybil, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense. However, as we know, Felice and or Hector can come down and take care of that Sybil. So I think this turn's probably going to be Hector, just because it puts the ward up and protects his face a little bit. Yeah.
Ooh.
Got to win.
Oh, here we go. He's actually going to take care of... He's actually not going to take care of both of them, because that won't evolve without the enhance. But she trades with Hector. Ooh, that's a good draw.
You know, easy Bahamut, and says, Gengar's like, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm going to end the game. I just drew my con flag to clear the way for Bahamut to hit face. And the reason why that's important is because Bahamut can't actually attack face if your opponent has 2 or more followers in play.
Exactly. With that Conflagrate in hand, Bahamut can easily tank 3 Conflagrates and be fine. But the
Yes.
the board of the board of Mango can't.
Yeah. And that's it for this game.
Show's over. Impressive.
Gengar doing this one in style. I liked his plays. I think the Zeus play might have been a little, I don't know, aggressive with that Zeus because he had the Sonic Will, but other than that, that was a pretty straightforward game. CarePackage just kind of ran out of gas and didn't have what it took to finish off Dragon there at the end.
Exactly. I agree 100%. Gengar with some really good Ramp Dragon play there.
Yep. And now he gets to play his Haven deck, his Seraph deck. So let's see if Seraph can actually take out both of the aggressive decks of CarePackage, because Mango's bringing Rune and Blood here. And Seraph, depending on how you tech it, might have a hard time with this lineup.
I guess you're looking for a fight.
That is true, but Mango's going first again, and he's got a pretty good hand for it.
Alright, so CarePackage has the Alice curve yet again. We see him with the one... He's missing the 2-drop, so not the perfect curve this time. And I'm sure he'd rather see Goblin than Wise Merman on his 1-drop slot, but not that big of a deal versus Haven, because Haven doesn't really have anything to contest the 1-drop. No 2 for Mango, unfortunate. And Gengar here is thinking maybe Hollow Dogma to draw some cards, maybe Blackened Scripture just to stave off damage, especially because Cure Mango did miss the 2-drop, and you can see on Cure Mango's face he's not very happy about that. Okay, so Gengar opts to draw cards instead. Says, you know what, I need more options right now.
Yeah, the card draw is a bit more important. But this curve, though.
Yes, missing the 2-drop hurt a little bit, but because of the Alice, not that bad. Alright, so I'm pretty sure we're going to see the Alice this turn.
Yeah. Although, drawing second Oz there is kind of... Your hand is not really getting buffed by this. He got... Out of 4 cards, only 1 got buffed by Alice there, so it's not the best Alice in the world.
Right, and Priest is here to easily clean up this board. And as we can see, Gengar already has most of the combo in his hand already. With the Instatued Seraph, he already has 1 Amulet Reducer with the Sister Initiate, so all he's really trying to do is make sure he doesn't die before Seraph comes down on turn 8.
What in the...
He needs to get the pressure going if that's going to happen, though. Felice, regular evolve here, still gains Storm, so is able to go face.
The only follower in the game that when you evolve it, it doesn't just get Rush, it gets Storm, so can go face. Very fun card.
Yeah, very, very fun, yeah.
Very fun, go face, the best. Alright, so I imagine
so
just Radiant Angel.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, his options are basically just that. Like, he doesn't have much of anything. Nothing in his hand is very, proactive against this, this Felice or anything else that would support it. Prism Priestess is interesting here. Is he going for a Blackened Scripture?
That's what it looks like, yeah. Evo and Blackened Scriptures to clear board.
I'm strong because I'm good.
Really banking on the fact that he needs to clear this 4 damage off the board, otherwise he might slip too far behind here.
If Felice hits you for 8, then that's bad news.
Yeah,
definitely bad news.
A lot of value.
He's feeling hungry.
Alright, so we see Cure Mango just emptying out the hand to prepare for Wizard of Savage, just like last game.
Crystals of snow shimmer in the night.
Gengar does have Snow White into Tribunal, though, for a full clear here.
Your kiss will awaken me.
Yep, easy full clear, and gets to keep the Snow White afterwards. Not a bad trade.
The nerf to
And
Snow White's toughness actually helped him there. If she was still 3 toughness, that wouldn't have worked.
That's true. That's true. But yeah, Snow White, for those of you who don't know, actually gets a sweet ability that when she dies, she actually comes back into play evolved again. So she gets to attack with Rush an extra time. This is why she is legendary.
I am a flower. I bloom on stage.
That's her dying wish. Ooh, Oz coming down. No mana to work with, though, since he did play.
It's true, but no downside. No spells were drawn, so even if Wizardess dies here, nothing will be discarded for Mango.
Show's over.
Exactly. Mango has this this ability to draw goblins. He
Is another
continuously keeps drawing his goblins.
Yes. Alright, so Gengar's still sitting on just the 1 Sister Initiate to pop the Instatued Seraph, but the board is looking pretty clean at the moment for him to drop it, depending.
Yeah, exactly. Mango's pressure has been kind of, he's gotten damage in, but most of his pressure has been staved off, and, yeah. Mango knows that he has to flood in case, so he has to make Seraph unsafe, basically.
Yeah, this is an easy Themis. The reason why Themis here instead of Instatued Seraph is because if you look at the Tribunal countdowns, when they die, they actually destroy a unit on the opposing side. So he's basically just lining up his Tribunals with the Seraph so that he can safely play it.
Mango is only playing this turn is going to be just to flood again, but like you said, that Tribunal will take down 1 for free. Snow White can attack that 2/2 Unica, and then a 3/3 is all that's left on board when he slaps down Seraph.
Which is definitely safe enough.
Ooh.
Oh. Maybe not.
He's not going to let that trade happen. He's not going to accept losing that 2/2 Unica. This could be bad, though, if Tribunal snipes that 5/3.
Ooh.
And, of course, it did.
Of course.
Of course.
This is still a pretty dangerous board, though. I don't know if he's prepared to drop this Seraph here. I don't know if he can afford to wait either, though. Like, if he doesn't drop Seraph here, I think he might start getting far behind enough that he might not be able to drop it at all.
Because Gengar is out of evolves, and because he drew his Sister Initiate there, actually, he only needs 3 activators to just win, and he has 3 draws next turn.
That's right.
Mango having to come up with 5 damage, even Felice can't do that. So I think this is the only chance you're going to get to play Seraph.
Yeah, and as we can see, he does not have 5 damage in his hand. He has 3 from the Hector,
right,
and that's it at the moment. And yeah, like you said, Sacred Plea is gonna die as well as the Tribunal, so he's gonna get 3 draws at the start of his turn to get that 1 extra countdown remover that he needs, and that's what it looks like he's doing here.
Mango has to draw 5 damage, which is... it's a lot. I mean, double Hector does do it, but he doesn't have 2 of those.
Doesn't look like he's gonna get there either. So this is a big sweat from Cure Mango here.
Gengar needs 1 more activator on 3 draws.
Can he do it? This is
One more.
the
You usually
clench
play
turn.
9 activators, so I don't know.
This is the and just end your turn, Mango. Just end it. Let me see if my fate is
He
sealed.
doesn't want to know. He doesn't want to see it happen.
I
Right.
bloom on stage.
You know, we'll snipe Oz, of course.
Shows
And
Got the Feria. That's not an activator.
oh no,
That's not an activator.
That's
He
not an
didn't get it.
activator.
He doesn't have lethal. There's no way to stop this without Tribunal, I don't think. Or at least
no
the Themis.
Themis' decree
Those-
to clear off the board either. That's it. That's game.
Tribunal had to snipe something more than a 2/2 for this not to just be game.
Yep.
That's not an activator either. They're so deep. He was so far away. No, Gengar.
Ooh. Good on Mango. Didn't throw in the towel. Just kept doing what he had to do. Got there. Good on you, Mango.
He got there for sure. I mean, you can't just surrender to. You got to make him have it, right? Don't just surrender.
Of course,
to it.
always. Especially in a tournament. If you know what, I'm gonna say this as a PSA for all competitive players. If you concede in a match that's worth this much money or potentially a lot of money, don't concede. Just play it out. Your opponent might not have it. Come on.
Exactly. Your opponent also might just, it is possible. These are the best players in the region, but they could also just misplay. They are human.
That's right.
So.
That's right. We have seen Miss Lethals, so it's on your opponent to win the game.
Yep.
So this looks like a very aggressive blood list. I'm not sure if this is Vengeance Blood or just Aggro Blood at the moment. It's running kind of cards that you'd see in both.
Mm-hmm. That is true. The Baphomet is especially interesting, I think, actually.
Mm-hmm. I've actually been toying around with Baphomet and Goblin Mage in aggressive blood decks just to keep cards flowing. Like, it's really good on curve. It just keeps your hand size the same. It's nice. Okay, so this is looking like aggro bats then.
Yeah, this is
Devon gets the Telltale
without the
Sack.
Baphomet. Without the Angelic Knight, actually, this looks like bats. I don't know. The Knight throws me off a little bit.
Right, yeah. The Knight was the card that I'm like, well, this could be Vengeance. But
Like, why is that
naturally
not just a
speaking...
fight, right?
Right, exactly. It makes bats.
Ooh, and it
Angelic
hurts.
Knight doesn't. Yeah, very nice top deck there. So naturally in this matchup, like we said previous to the match, that Blood has an advantage here because it is a very aggressive deck. And as we saw, Seraph kind of needs to gamble a little bit against aggro on the turn that it plays Seraph. And he's on the draw here, which makes it even worse. Being on the draw against an aggressive deck such as aggro Blood like this makes it just that much harder.
It does, but Mango's not exactly doing anything progressive here. I mean, his next turn's also not that great with him breaking 2 Sabors in hand, so...
That's true. The Angelic Knight will be able to push for a little bit pre-evo turn, so 1 extra damage, not the worst. Ooh.
True, and Gengar's not holding a cudgel or anything, so...
And he decides to play the Beast Call over Scripping here. I don't know if I like that play.
It
an
does
extra
open
2
him up
damage
to
for
more
his troubles.
danger. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's also not on 5 either, so he wasn't... His plan here, I think, is Scripture into Dogma on Arya. but he drew Cudgel.
Yeah, he was planning on that. Oh, it looks like he's doing it anyway instead of the Priest of the Cudgel.
It's gonna also play. Oh, I can't play Cudgel. Never mind. Yeah, Scripture into yeah. I mean, you clear the board. You also put a 6/4 on the board here, which has
very
to be
heads up play
answered.
from Gengar.
Done for.
Very heads up play from Gengar. Having the Hollow Dogma makes the Beast Call a little bit more effective because you do take the extra damage the turn earlier, but then you have a full board clear like you saw this turn. So I really like that play.
I also love the Evolved Tiger here because, as we see, Mango's hand is really useless against it. Like, Sabroir will die in the trade, and then Big Knuckle Bodycard, BKB, wasn't even able to kill it. So...
That's right. Decides not to Evo the Sabroir to kill the Tiger, which is probably smart. He just wants to save all of his Evos for damage. And taking damage from the Tiger, not a huge threat against Seraph, because Seraph's not really trying to win through damage.
May you rest in
Right. Realistically, he knows that Gengar will make that trade for him anyway. Ooh, he's actually going to evolve a Sister Initiative anyway to keep the Tiger on the board.
I like it. Aggressive. He's like, you know what? You're not going to evolve to kill this Tiger? He's going to show you the business.
This Tiger's... Oh, no, man. That's 1 mana away from just being amazing with BKB.
See what he decides to do here. He could play Vanya Evo to finish off the Tiger. I don't think you can allow it to stay in play for an extra turn. And then that also does allow him to play something else.
Yeah. Gengar has, like... He's still got an Evolve left to do that exact same play again. And he's demonstrated that he will keep this Tiger in play. He doesn't care, you know, what you're doing. He'll evolve over something else and keep hitting you with this Tiger. So it has to be removed for sure.
Mango deep in the tank about this one. He's like, how am I actually going to finish my opponent off here? So technically, unmitigatable damage here. He's got the Vanya for 1, he's got the Sabroir for 2, and he's got the Angel of the Word for 1. So he's only got 4 damage. That's uncontested at the moment.
It's me, Vanya.
It looks like he's going to bank in 2 of that while also getting rid of the Tiger and leaving a Bat and Angel on the board.
Go, Bloodkin! Go!
Okay. I feel like this could be a Cudgel or a Themis. I think Themis is more likely just to save the Evo point. Oh, never mind. A lot more options here.
Ooh. Well, if you Cudgel, you don't get the Frog, but, I mean, you could Radiance Angel this turn. Looking for more activators for your Seraph is important, so...
And as we see, Kirmango doesn't really have the Storm Followers that you would normally see a lot of in Aggro Blood. He doesn't have any of the Implancers, which is the 6-play 0.36 with Storm. He doesn't have any more Blood Wolves, which is the 2-play 0.21 with Storm. So he doesn't really have a lot of get out there and kill you stuff. But of course Gengar doesn't know that yet, so he's got to play like he might die. Because you always can.
Right, Gengar does need to play around potential. He's actually going to Dogma this Beast called Aria. I think Gengar's off the Seraph plan.
Completely off the Seraph plan. I think he's just trying to maintain board control while also threatening lethal to make Kirmango play defensively, which is exactly what you don't want to be doing when you're playing an aggressive deck. Once you shift from being the proactive player to the reactive player as an aggro deck, you start losing a lot of value in your cards.
Exactly. All of a sudden, Big Knuckle Bodycard becomes a burden because it's hitting you in the face. It's perfectly fine when played aggressively, but when played defensively, it's definitely not amazing. So,
the only play I can really see here that's safe is to play the Sabroir into the Summon Bloodkin, or even the Angelic Knight, just to protect the Big Knuckle. That actually makes a lot of sense.
Check this out.
And we see there he actually does just take the 2 damage, so both players at 9 now, but he does have a ward that can come down. I imagine instead of the Summon Bloodkin will be what happens here.
Yeah. If the Big Knuckle's the play, then he's definitely going to follow up with the Angelic here. Especially because we see Gengar's out of Evo points, so there's not like an easy way to get around this ward.
Right, if Cudgel were, oh my gosh, if Cudgel were possible, this would have been really bad for Mango, but he does just draw Black and Scripture, which lines up perfectly with his Radiance Angel already in hand, so...
Perfect turn for Gengar. Ooh, is that good enough?
I don't think that's safe. He's gonna go for it anyway, wow.
He's like, you know what? It's Care Boss time. Let's go, baby. So what Caraboss does is once you play it, you stop getting play points at the beginning of your turn, so he'll stop at 8 for the rest of the game, but you deal a damage to your opponent and draw an extra card at the end of your turn. So it's kind of like the end game for the aggro decks. It helps you draw more cards, helps you finish off with damage, and they don't really need the play points because nothing in the deck really costs more than 6.
Right, the Caraboss is the top of the curve. Gengar could throw his 2 minions into her and then play Seraph, but he doesn't have the activators to make that quite worth it. The only problem is that every other play he's got is kind of whatever.
Yeah.
Outside of killing the bats and playing Tribunal, that's not that bad, because you also get to play the frog.
Yeah, I like this. He's just going to stay consistent with his game plan of maintaining board control, gaining life, and then trying to put enough damage in play to just end in one turn if he can.
Mm-hmm. He can attack for a total of 8 right now, which is just 1 off lethal, so...
1 shy. Imagine we're going to have to see this war this turn, yeah. Ooh, face.
For sure. It's still going upstairs, too. Mango knows his deck. The only way it's going to win is if he keeps going upstairs with everything, so...
That's right. He's not going to win this game by taking the board back over. Not a chance.
The second you start fighting for board against Haven as an aggro deck like Bat Blood, you will finally get it back after their evolves are gone, and then you just get Themis anyway, so...
Right, exactly. They have reset options, whereas the aggro decks do not.
Exactly. Not worth that fight. It's also unlikely that Gengar, outside of Beast Call Aria, that waited a turn into Dogma, it's unlikely that Gengar has any real reach here, so the damage you see on board is realistically all they can do to you anyway.
Right. And what Gengar's kind of deciding what to do here is, do I maintain the same game plan of trading board and then just playing followers? And I think he's starting to realize that if he does that with the way that Kiramago is playing, just by sending everything upstairs, he might just start falling behind. Because so far, he hasn't actually had an opportunity to attack face yet. And if he keeps going this way, the Caraboss plus extra cards is just going to outvalue Gengar's plan.
Yeah, exactly. Because Gengar is playing... He's playing followers that are more on the defensive side of things, where Mango is playing purely aggressively statted followers.
Mm-hmm.
Except for Ampling Wraith. That one's just a 1-mana 1-2, or 1 play point 1-2. It does do 1 damage on the ETB, but we see Gengar going for trades here now.
Okay, so this was the big decision for me with him. Was he going to go face
There we go.
and just try to race, or is he just going to go with the more defensive plan? Looks like he's going with the defensive one, which makes sense.
I love the
Doesn't wanna
shift
take
in
any
gameplay
chances
for
here.
Gengar, though. I think he realizes that if he gets the Seraph down, he has that inevitability that Mango, with only 2 cards in his hand at the time, could not, keep up with.
Right. And now he does get to use the reset button, as we saw before, as we said before, with the Themis' Decree. Ooh.
If he does Themis and not heal, though, he doesn't have any activators, and he can't heal. It's not possible.
So this is a big gamble turn. Kiramago has a lot of top decks here that will just win the game outright.
Mango actually might be rewarded for just going face every single turn. He knows that if Gengar heals, the option is less likely, but if he gets 2 damage even...
Your evil deeds end now.
Yeah, he needs to find 2 damage off the top just to seal the game right now.
1 draw, Mom Spaghetti. That could be a Blood Wolf. That could be a Blood Wolf.
What does he get? Ooh. Mango's living on the edge of his seat right now. I can see it in his camera too. He's like, come on, baby.
Yeah, he wishes that was a much better draw. So he can't show the Razor Claw. Actually he does.
Does anyway. That's very aggressive.
Wow. It is. There's Caraboss. She actually will be lethal if no heal happens or Seraph wins. He has no activators, so Seraph can't win. Frog Cleric, though. Coming in with that hot enhance. 4-mana 2/2 will heal you for 3.
Baby. This is Kiramago's turn right here. He's got to top deck something.
Claw is still lethal. Blood Wolf
That's
is not lethal. It's 1 off. Oh no!
It's 1 off.
Mango. Oh no!
No.
He's so sad.
You can feel him sink. Oh no, Mango.
Yeah.
We feel for you, man.
Always one off, man. Come on.
That's the new meme. Always one off.
That's the struggle of an aggro player too. You send everything upstairs every possible turn. You almost never fight for the board, and then at the very end you just end up being one off anyway. It doesn't really matter anyway.
What a good game. Both players showing mastery of their decks throughout the entire game.
No!
And we see how close it is. 1 life off. 1.
Mm-hmm. 1. At least Mango can take solace in knowing that his next card was not Razor Claw. He knew that off those 2 draws, he was not going to have drawn lethal if he was 1 card deeper. So at least he can know that.
Yes.
There it is. Mango will take his first loss here against Gengar, and I think that's actually a good... Gengar kind of lost his first match last week, so now he's bouncing back, putting himself up 1-1, I believe. And so, talk to me a little bit about that Seraph Haven match. Especially, we saw kind of 2 parts of it, right? One where you went for that Seraph game plan, but you didn't actually draw the activators, which by that we mean the cards that will advance the countdown of the Seraph card. Didn't get that, and that actually lost him the game there. But in the second game, talk to me about how often it is that you would diverge from your Seraph strategy, because it really seemed like Gengar was actually pushing more board control and kind of trying to trade out damage instead of relying on the Seraph to end the game. How do you make those kinds of decisions? If you're a player who wants to learn how to play Seraph Haven, how do you navigate those scenarios, Exodium?
Sure. Well, most importantly, it's about the matchup. So he was specifically playing against Blood, and Blood has a lot of ways to just keep pushing damage. And if you ever just stop to Seraph in a realistic scenario, they could just do something that you can't counter and then you just die. Like, you playing Seraph basically just says, I'm conceding the game. So Gengar shifted his mindset into... Blood has a lot of options that deal damage to itself, like the Big Knuckle Bodyguards, like the Blood Wolves, like the Razory Claws. So if I can get him down to like 2 or 4 or something like that, it will limit the options that Cure Mango has. Also, it just keeps it safer, and once I maintain board control after Cure Mango runs out of cards, then I can play my Seraph, or maybe I have just won just by maintaining board control and keep pressuring face with my followers.
Well, Gengar certainly gets rewarded for that, and just barely takes that win. 1 health was all that separated the two. Let's take a look at the schedule and see what else we have in store for us. Jay-Z versus Underwear, Noah versus BanHackRocks, and BoltTools versus DocHack are going to be the next 3 matches coming up. Jay-Z is a big name, you know, the winner of the finals of Season 1. Jay-Z really demonstrated incredible amounts of preparation and decision making in the playoffs, and now he's kind of trying to make his second run here against Underwear. And I think both of these players have been kind of really demonstrating that they're playing at a very high level, so I'm interested in seeing how their match will play out. But before we get to that, I'd like to talk about a few things here. The first thing, which is very exciting as we've kind of settled in and some people have trickled in, is that Shadowverse will be at PAX West. So we are going to be in Seattle. And what that means is if you go to PAX West, you can find us at the Twitch booth, and Exodium will be there. He'll be streaming the game. He'll be interviewing people. You can go out and meet him, maybe play a few matches against him. Don't take a money match though, because he will attempt to steal you for every dollar that you have in your pocket. Or you could opt not to bring cash. I think that might help you prevent that. But definitely go out there, meet the one and only Exodium, and play some Shadowverse. It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of the other events that Shadowverse has done has always been such a pleasure and a great experience. So we hope to see you guys there, and I'm really looking forward to that. Other things to keep in mind, make sure you join the Shadowverse Open Discord. You can find friends to play with there. You can talk about the game. You can even talk with the competitors, or even some of the fine commentators here you see on screen. So definitely give that a click. Now, Jay-Z vs. Underwear. We've got Neutral Rune that's banned out, which interestingly enough, I feel like Neutral Rune, at least in terms of the European region, is not something that we see a lot. We much more often see Levi Taboo, something burn-oriented, you know, or maybe, I mean, if it's Suzona, you see Snowman, right? And almost entirely from the first week as well as the qualifiers, Where did D-Shift go? Where did Dimensional Shift go? What
D-Shift is a
happened?
gamble, man. It's a gamble. Like, you never know if it's going to do well. You don't know if the matchups you're going to be playing against are right. Like, it's the most gambly of all decks, I would say. So that's why, you know, if you're in a competitive environment, right, you're trying to play for money. You want to win. You don't want to take that gamble.
And then on the part of this Underwear, Blood Bat was banned, so there are two decks that Underwear is going to rely on is Mid Shadow and Neutral Rune, and for Jay-Z it's going to be Mid Shadow and Haven Aegis. So let's see how this will play out. How do the mulligans look, and what do you guys feel about these particular matchups here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in to know your thoughts about this matchup, Mid Shadow versus Neutral Rune. Do you know much about this matchup?
Whoa, was that a Shadow Reaper? It's a Shadow Reaper.
It is a Shadow Reaper. Harken its
I like
grand
to say
return.
the Mid Shadow has a good or okay matchup against everything, so...
That's fair. I would say Neutral Rune is, again, like I said at the beginning of the stream here, that I think it's still one of the strongest decks, but Mid Shadow is on that same tier. I'm not really sure how good Shadow Reaper is now. This is the first time I've seen it in a while, but maybe this is a more aggressively minded Shadow deck and not Mid Shadow. He's got the Skeleton Fighter over there. He's got the Reaper and the Phantom House Serb. So he's going for the turn 6 win plays. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, even if you are, I was gonna say this, like, even if you are going for the aggressive game plan, Shadow Reaper is just such a dead card sometimes, and he actually opts to play Bone Chimera over it, because it's now on the same it's on the same play point curve. Like, Bone Chimera is just better, usually.
Next turn, it does open him up for the Shadow Reaper plus the Skeleton Fighter play, which is not bad. It keeps the board wide.
I am a flower. I bloom on stage.
I'm talking about Underwear's hand a little bit. Underwear has a great hand here. He's got a sweet curve into either a Felice or a Hector. Whatever he wants to do that turn, depending on if Hector does get active or not.
This is looking a lot more good for Underwear at the moment. We see Shadow Reaper. It's only going to come down and give buff once, though. One of these skeletons will probably evolve over Unica, and then Skeleton Fighter will come down, but Underwear could just not trade, wait for it to come out of stealth, and shoot it down with Hector, probably.
That's true. See what he does. Like, these are both big threats to his game plan right now. Unica will put him back up to full health, but Faria could present a board that might be too big to overcome. So he's got a real choice to make here.
Goes for the Fairy instead, doesn't care about the 2 extra health, cares more about the buff you just mentioned. Oh, Alice, that would have been huge. That would have been amazing. Wise Merman Alice evolve Faria go face. Oh my gosh. Might have been a bit too dangerous, but, you know, either way.
A little dangerous.
Yeah, a little more on the dangerous side.
But this is again a more aggressive Shadow deck, and I can't imagine that Underwear after playing these early turns doesn't imagine that. So he's really got to think, do I want to be the defensive player here, or do I want to be pushing? And specifically when you see a Shadow Reaper that you can't deal with, maybe you wait until that's off the board before you decide to flip the switch to aggressive mode.
And Underwear is being put into a position that players haven't been put into in a while. That also might be one of the reasons Jay-Z is playing the Reaper, is because people may have just forgotten how to play against the Reaper. Trades are going to happen no matter what, though. So the trick with Shadow Reaper is if your opponent already has the creatures, you should just kill them on your turn. You don't want them to play the card we just saw Jay-Z draw.
Exactly. Yeah, Prince Catacomb really is nice before Shadow Reaper comes out of ambush, but still might lend itself here. It might go with the Cerberus plan just to set up for the Phantom Howl. But we'll see here. And for those of you who don't know, just like a quick little history lesson on Shadow Reaper. Shadow Reaper used to cost 2, it now costs 3. And what it does is it's just a very unassuming 1/1 ambush follower that whenever a unit dies on your side of the board, it gets +1/+1. So it basically makes trading very favorable, and it can still push damage regardless of what the board state looks like. So it's a very powerful card that got nerfed to 3 play points, and we haven't seen it until today.
It used to very frequently get to like 9 attack the turn after it was played, because Catacombs was also at 3. So you could just flood the board with skeletons and then evolve it. But those days of terror are gone. It's still going to get in for a nice chip of 5, though. It's not bad for a 3-drop.
That's right. This is a pretty scary board. Felice can't even really deal with both of these, which is not common for a Shadow board. Felice can usually clear up pretty much everything, but that 5/5 a little too big.
Almost.
Oh, actually, never mind.
Only Wise
Oh no,
Merman.
Wise Merman can't. Yeah, Wise Merman
Can't buffer.
can't buff Felice.
Yeah. If only.
If only. Wise Merman, good, but not that good.
Only buffs neutrals. Darn.
And again, just
Angel
for a
of the
quick little
Word.
history lesson, for people who didn't know, Prince Catacomb, what Envy was just talking about, used to cost 3, now costs 4. And what it does is it basically comes into play as a 1/1 and makes all of your followers, including itself, when they die, you get another 1/1. So it sets up for that Shadow Reaper interplay over a few turns, which makes it super, super big. But both of them being nerfed means it's a lot slower now.
It reminds us all that skeletons are hiding inside. Angel of the Word onto Cerberus into evolving into Wise Merman on the Angel gives you 5 attack, but you can't do that because killing the Cerberus with the Angel will buff the Reaper to a 6/6 and prevent you from doing that.
That's right. Very hard interaction to deal with.
I am a mad cyclone.
You're done for.
And Jay-Z is actually running away with a card that, people have stopped playing. They've said this card is bad, and here it is. It can evolve for 8 damage next turn if he wants to. It won't,
That
but...
pre-Evo, a little strange to me. On the Angel of the Word.
That was interesting. I think he just wanted to make sure that Mimi couldn't snipe it off the board for free. Because if he goes...
That
if
makes
Jay-Z
sense.
were to have played another Cerberus into that Mimi, it would have been game, I think. So...
That's true. Plus, he needs to keep followers in place so that he can actually eventually deal with the Shadow Reaper that's gotten so big. Started as a 1/1, now 6/6.
Started from the bottom,
That's a
now
big-
we here.
That's right. I was actually going to say that. Oh, man.
This Reaper only
Alright,
continues
so-
to get more and more out of control, too, so...
That's right. I think we might actually see... I don't know. He might want to push with the Mimi damage, but he can always save it because he has the Phantom Howl backup. He might just want to present a big board here because Ektar is an option next turn. I kind of like the Lyrial into Prince Catacomb play here.
I do as well. You don't get to kill the Angel of the Word, but... I mean, you do have a 6/6 on the board. You could just ignore it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and I think that's what he's going to go with. He's just going to ignore it. His hand is ridiculous. He has this huge Shadow Reaper that's not been able to be dealt with by Underwear's hand here. He's got Ektar for a follow-up, and he's got Phantom Howl plus Mimi Coco for a follow-up after that. So this is looking pretty cut and dry right now because Underwear doesn't have any defensive options.
Exactly. Jay-Z's got the he's got the attack from both angles. If the board is wiped, he gets the skeletons from Catacombs to be buffed by Eekter. And if that all somehow gets banished or something by a pre-nerf Lightning Blast on 7, then he has the Phantom Howl Coco Mimi. He would need... No, that'd be 9 damage. Yeah, that would just be lethal. He just has lethal set up, no matter what happens here.
Right.
Finally a break.
Straightforward game. Shadow Reaper showing its power, basically saying, put me back in your deck. What the heck have you been thinking?
It's interesting. Shadow Reaper Catacombs is something that, we haven't seen for a very long time, but I mean, it looked very, very, very textbook for Jay-Z right there, putting Underwear in that checkmate situation.
Jay-Z looking calm and collected, almost bored. He's like, you know what? I built this deck. This deck is great. I'm winning.
I mean, winning with Shadow Reaper used to be pretty boring because, like I said, it could get like
That's
a
true.
possible... It could get like 9 attack in 2 turns, which was,
The worst
thing
was
you used to
like
get out
a
of the
Bone
end
Chimera
very
turn into like double Shadow Reaper. So you have like 2 of the pumps going on at the
Oh,
same
God.
time. That was ludicrous.
that was just this value. Side games, how do I hold all this value?
Side Games is like, we got you, fam. we'll make sure this can't happen anymore. Yeah.
Game number 2, Haven versus Shadow.
Is fighting and despair all you know?
An age-old matchup. Now, Banish is very nice against Shadow because, again, as we've talked about in previous casts, Shadow relies a lot on Shadows, the mechanic that when a follower dies or whenever a card from your hand goes to the graveyard, you get a shadow, and then it uses those shadows for Little Soul Squasher, Demon Lord Ektar, those types of things, and Haven has a lot of ways to get rid of those shadows in Black and Scripture, Priest of the Cudgel, which we've seen from the last games.
Banishment will not only deny the shadows, but it's also really good against the 2-for-1 or multi-shadow cards. Like Skull Beast, when it dies, gives you 2 shadows. Bone Chimera, when it dies, gives you 3. Prince Catacombs, you know, anything really that dies for multiple shadows.
Infinite.
Yeah. Banish is just great. Yeah, you could banish a Minth, I guess.
Oh man. If we see more Minth Tyrant shenanigans today, I'm gonna lose my mind. I'm gonna be like, what pill did all these guys
it's
take?
The way it should be played, okay? Minth is the best 4-drop in the game. You heard it here first.
So we see Underwear with not an aggressive shadow deck, more along the lines of the mid shadows that we've seen.
He's playing, I wouldn't call it the opposite of Shadow Reaper aggro, because that would probably be like Nephthys or something, but he's playing a much different strategy with Lurching Corpse, Soul Squasher, Thane, you know, actual removal spells outside of Zombie Party, and looking for a slower game for sure.
Which definitely aids Haven a little bit. Like, the more aggressive style decks have a tendency to be able to push through what Haven can do just because it's really slow in what it does. But mid shadow, a little bit slower, allows Haven to give Haven to have a little bit more turns.
Hey, why so angry?
Exo, can you tell me why he might be playing Execution in Haven?
Yeah, Execution is generally there as an anti-dragon measure. If you feel like a lot of your opponents are going to be playing Dragon and Polyphonic Roar or something, then you really need an answer, because Polyphonic Roar literally just shuts Haven out. Polyphonic Roar, for those of you who don't know, is the Dragon Amulet that's 9 play points that puts a 5/5 Storm into play every turn. Haven doesn't have an amulet removal, so it needs one if it wants to try to beat Dragon, or if it wants to be prepared to beat Polyphonic Roar. That's really it. I can't really imagine anything else.
Bahamut also, as well. Underwear goes for a really aggressive evolve there too, pre-evolving that Lurching Corpse.
He's like, I don't want to get multi-banished here. I don't want Priest of the Cudgel to just blow me out. So
I'm pretty sure that was literally what he was dodging for sure. The Arya was popping this turn, but I don't think Underwear cared too much about that. He also might be trying to incentivize Jay-Z into attacking or banishing that certain Lurching Corpse, although his hand doesn't really portray that, convey that really.
yeah. Well, his hand's just really bad. Like, Underwear has the top end of his curve, and his mid game is just missing. So he's at kind of an extreme disadvantage here because he's not getting early damage in, and realistically, Jay-Z could just clear this up and not care. He could just Evo the Tiger and run the bird into these Lurching Corpses and just not care about what Underwear's doing.
Well, if he does it that way, there's a 50% chance it doesn't work. But if you banish one of them, it will.
So Jay-Z really thinking about this one.
He does just have Themis next turn. He could just not care. He lets it happen. He's gonna have the Angel of the Word into Black in Scripture. Ooh, Execution. Onto the Evolve Lurching.
That's actually the best use I think he could have gotten this game out of that card. Right on curve, dealt with the only follower in play.
Wow, we even see Underwear. His hand is so bad, he draws that Soul Conversion and just tributes Lyriel to it immediately.
Yeah.
And his hand gets no better
like, you know what? Lyriel, get out of here. I need better stuff. Come on.
His hand actually got no better. He just redrew a Lyriel and a Skull Beast.
Well, is Skull Beast gonna warrant a removal spell? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. You do banish that extra shadow, like I mentioned, but it's not like you're keeping Underwear off of 6. If Death's Breath were to happen, he already has the triggers for that, so.
And still not a great turn. He could do the Lyriel Dark Conjurer combo, which is a nice little tempo play. He gets to basically deal 2 extra damage with that Evo, because Lyriel gets the 1 damage, as we know. Dark Conjurer gets an extra 1/1 with Storm if you have an Evolved Follower in play. So he could go for that just to push a little damage, clear out board here. Can't really see anything else for him to do.
He's also getting slapped by Tribunal next turn, though.
My boss works us to the
And as we all know, that
like
has a magnet for evolved followers, so.
It does. Decides not to Evo here. Okay, just wants to set up a board for possibly Ektar or Thane.
Snow White's actually the perfect draw for that.
Yeah, I like it.
But he goes
I
for
would have much
Themis.
preferred to see
Wow.
Snow White Evo here. Yeah, save the Evo, save the Themis decrees for turn 7+. But of course he's got a backup.
That does open him right up to Thane, though. I mean, that Themis... And he's got another one, but if you Themis again, then...
Yeah, he's got a Themis here. Again, I much rather would have seen the Snow White the previous turn. This way, he would have had 2 Themises for post turn 7. But as it stands, he has a Curate to gain life back. He has a Bahamut to clear out a big board again after this Themis. So he's got a lot of options.
True, he is technically holding 3 Themises, kind of, if you want to get really technical, if it makes it to 10.
Sure.
He could just Themis this board. He could go for Snow White Evolve into Black and Scripture to deny the White King, but I think that's what he's going for.
I like this. Especially if he expects something like an Ektar to come out, he's still saving that Themis for it, so...
And the order of attack doesn't really matter here. You plan to banish that, so the Spartoys or the Whites won't trigger.
So now it's really just top deck mode. Underwear's like, can I get the damage in before something like an Aegis comes out?
Phantom Howl's pretty good, though. He goes for the Aether. That's going to push... He could make it a total of 6.
100% making the 6.
Yeah.
He's not going to have very many windows to deal damage this game. He needs to take them.
For sure. Themis will take care of this pretty easily, though.
And if you guys that are just new to this or just watching that are like, why the heck did that card do so much? Because Ektar does a lot of things. For every 3 shadows, you get a 2/2, and all of your followers get +2, +0, and rush. So the newly minted ones become 4/2s that can attack, and the cards already in play get an extra 2 attack to go to face.
Goes for this newly drawn Swan into a Soul Squasher, putting Jay-Z at 8. Save the Evolve. Bahamut's not playable this turn. He has to play Curate and Evolve here, or he dies. Never mind.
No, Bahamut is playable here,
Phantom
right?
Hell's-
Yeah.
No, yeah, Phantom Hell's
7.
only 7 with I'm so used to Coco Mimi combos. So unless he draws
Not yet.
Cerberus. Bone Chimera.
Dun dun dun. So this Bahamut, unless Underwear wants to evolve the Bone Chimera into the Bahamut for whatever reason, that can't be the right play. To try to put 2 followers in play to prevent Bahamut from attacking. This Bahamut's getting in for a ton right now. This game is looking pretty over.
Yeah, it won't one-shot, but I think realistically the Curate just closes things harder than Bahamut.
Right. Curate gaining life, the Bahamut just a big force that Underwear has no answer to at the moment.
That's so unfortunate. I'm so used to Coco Mimi buffing it.
Yeah. You don't even count it as 5 damage anymore. You're just like, that's 11. Whatever.
Yeah, it's just, no board. He's got an Evolve, 11 damage. Easy.
Easy peasy. So Underwear's really got to decide. I think his best avenue to victory here, honestly, is to just Phantom Howl and then pray that he top decks and do something that can kill. So, like, I would go Phantom Howl, Evolve, put Jay-Z to 1, and hope you top deck another Phantom Howl or a Serb or something. And that looks like what he's going to do. Unfortunately for him, we know. I was just going to say that we know Jay-Z has
Phantom Howl. It's not enough. Yeah.
Yeah, not past the Curate, no. But with imperfect information that Underwear is working with, this is the best play, I believe.
True. Phantom Howl also, important to note, will only summon 4 ghosts if he draws 1. Since those ghosts all banish themselves. So he didn't get those shadows back.
Yep.
Slapstone Curate so fast.
So fast, he's like, I'm not doing that. You're not gonna double Phantom Howl me, bro. And that's that. Jay-Z taking this one. Very well played by Jay-Z. Honestly, Underwear.
That's the Bahamut attack. Nice.
It's so good. The big beam. Underwear just not getting the cards he needed in the mid-game to even push any sort of damage. Unfortunate.
JZ 2-0 over Underwear. And it really does seem like Aegis is doing pretty well today. I mean, Haven is doing, in general, pretty well today. I feel like typically, and I'd have to go back and kind of look at some of the statistics, but I feel like a lot of people bring Haven, and it's always a really, really scrappy game. And I think that was a very solid win for Haven. Obviously, Aegis didn't show up once, so it really seems like Haven is excelling beyond expectations in that sense. But how do you feel about kind of the deck situation for building against Haven? Do you think that players should respect it in terms of trying to always include a deck that is aggressive against it? How do you feel like it's best to navigate the situation when you think your opponent might be running an Aegis or Seraph list? Is that answer different in these cases, EXO?
So realistically, when you're playing, or when you want to think about being aggressive against it, you just want to try to force your opponent who's playing Haven to never be able to drop their endgame cards, such as Aegis or Seraph. Basically putting them into a situation where they're like, if you drop this, you're gonna die. And if you can't do that, basically having answers for, say, Seraph with like cards like Odin or Lightning Blast from Dragon, that kind of stuff, or if you're playing against Aegis, realistically, if Aegis comes into play and you don't have them almost dead or able to combo them after it comes out, Aegis is just going to finish you off. You can't really play after Aegis hits the table. So it's really hard to navigate because they have so many tech cards they can play. It's really just execute your game plan, force them to not be able to execute theirs.
All right, well, JZ certainly doing very well. 2-0 again, continuing to demonstrate why he is one of the top, if not, I mean, at the end of Season 1, the top player in North America. Let's go back and look at what is up for our matches today. Mana Surge's Noah is coming right up, teammate of JZ versus BanHackRocks. Noah, known for being the consistent, I think most frequent attendee of the top 8 of the North American Shadowverse Open in Season 1, whereas JZ was kind of the first place finisher. Noah was the most frequent in the top 8, and I think Les was the most frequent winner of the regular season, which makes him the top points earner, but we'll see Les in just a bit. But now it's Noah versus BanHackRocks, and it's going to be Neutral Rune and Blood Bat on Noah's side, and Neutral Sword and Mid Shadow on the end of BanHackRocks. Neutral Sword is not something that we've seen in the Shadowverse Open. In fact, Swordcraft is not something that we've seen very often in the Shadowverse Open. Envy, if you could give us a quick rundown of Swordcraft as kind of a class, as well as how does Neutral Sword operate and what are its strategies?
Sure. Sword is probably the most straightforward class of the entire game. They just want to play, every class really wants to play things on curve, but Sword more so than others. They have a class mechanic where they go off of cards that are officers and commanders, but Neutral Sword is going to just ditch that completely. I would imagine Neutral Sword is just because Sword is kind of like fallen back. Their stats on their minions have, like, Albert used to be really, really good, and now he's just kind of okay. So Neutral Sword is just trying to take advantage of the new neutral cards that we got, shoving them into Sword so you get access to their spells. You get access to, like, you do get Albert, but you also get Council of the Card Knights, I think is the full name, and then Alwita's Command are both very powerful 5 and 6 play point spells. So
a lot of value typically is what Sword goes for. A lot of stats, and just cool dudes. I think Swordcraft can be summarized by just cool dudes. Cool dudes.
Cool dudes.
That's exactly what Swordcraft is. Cool dudes dot class.
Dot class.
Yeah, Latham is really cool. Just yelling how cool he is all the time.
Yeah, Latham is a little bit tryhard. That's why I think people don't really include him on the deck. I'm sorry, Latham. It's true. Yeah. There was somebody. Oh man, was it Les? Anyways, it's very interesting because Noah was actually very well known in Season 1 as being a Swordcraft kind of. He was a very big supporter of Swordcraft as a class and brought it really far, maybe further than anybody had ever done in kind of the Shadowverse Open. But here, we see Noah the one without Sword, and HackRocks going to be the one carrying that torch now. Let's see who will come out on top. It's going to be Shadow versus Blood. We've seen this matchup a few times. give me a rundown based on what the situation is for both of these players. Who are your guys' favorites to win? Who do you think is going to take the match? And who would you put your money on, Exo? And then Envy, I guess you're going to have to take the other person, but talk to us about it.
Well, I've met Noah. Noah's a cool cat, and I've played against him in the competitive scene. I think he's a very excellent player. Like, he does not make mistakes from what I can see. I mean, you know, just like everybody, he has some kind of margin for error, but he doesn't make them often. So I'd have to go with Noah. What do you think, Envy?
I mean, HackRocks is on sword, so as long as he brings it out, then of course he's going to win. The underdog always wins, so.
That's true. Sword always finds a way. And to kind of go against what Rainey said, we are seeing a lot of Sword. It's just getting banned a lot. Not so much in the NA side, but on the European side. The European side, Sword got almost banned out completely on the day, which is very surprising. People were not ready to play against that deck.
Well, I mean, it's like you said, Sword always finds a way. Like, they can just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 you, and, you know, what do? If they found that, then you lose, so.
Right. So, beyond the players, the matchup is actually pretty straightforward. Each of these players is pretty much just playing aggressive lineups. Mid-range may be the most controlling of the decks, but it's still an aggressive deck at heart. So it really just depends on how these players play their turns. Like, this should be a really good matchup.
The early game for these decks is very, very dry. Both players just trading continuously. This is probably right around when someone can evolve is the first huge swing turn. We see a Vanya and a Bloodkin coming in for that face damage and board control.
Yeah, one of the combos that makes the Bat deck very strong. Vanya, the 2/2 that can summon a Bat when she evolves, while also dealing damage when Bats come into play. Summon Bloodkin, of course, summoning 2 Bats. So that's a very strong combo turn.
HackRocks flipping it around with his own top deck, getting a Cerberus. It's going to leave all the Bats in play, though, making Night Horde a pretty good card. He doesn't just have Angel the Word to finish off Cerberus anyway, though.
Yeah, I think Angel the Word plus the Curse Brand Vampire for the turn, and then Evo one of the Bats to go face.
Mm-hmm. Usually, 1/1 sort of token creatures, I guess. Bats are kind of like token creatures, since you can't put them in your deck. But they usually don't get evolved unless you're playing like super aggro and you just want to get that face damage. You don't care about the value of your evolves, you just care about hitting them for as much as you can every turn.
Right, and this, especially aggro bats, can kind of showcase the difference between using your evolves for value, like you were saying, and literally just forgoing all value from them and just going completely face.
You tend to evolve, in aggro bats you tend to evolve bats, for one, which are just 1/1 token creatures, and then you also evolve sometimes 1-drops even, like Curse Brand Vampire, Rambling Wraith. Those will come down as evolves just to get that face damage, and that's a pretty stark contrast from what HackRocks is doing, where he wants to evolve for board control in this matchup, but his deck usually goes for value evolves. Face game evolves would come in when Eekter is playable, but not early game like a bat.
Okay, this one's all me.
Now this is an interesting move from Noah. So instead of using the Night Horde to clear out the entire board, he's choosing to put up a ward that might actually give value to that Lurching Corpse that might not otherwise been valuable here.
This is God's word.
He does flood a bit, though, while maintaining 2 bats. He'll also, when the corpse attacks Vite, he'll create another bat from the clash of that.
That's true. That is true. But with the Mimi Coco in hand, that kind of gets the Vite out of there without worrying too much about generating too much value. And I guess the Lurching Corpse still doesn't have anything to attack into if he does choose to go that way. So,
right, Corpse can't attack followers unless they have ward, so I do think he wants this to attack Vite.
Yeah.
He may actually...
Get the extra.
He may play... Yeah. He might play Coco on it to make sure that it trades for 2.
It's just like the easy play for me in my mind this turn would be to do something like Lurching Corpse attack into Vite. If Vite doesn't die, then you can Mimi it, or is it Coco? I always forget which one does what. And then you can play
buff,
the
Mimi is
other
the aerial strike.
Okay, Mimi is the damage. Yeah, then Mimi the Vite and then play another Death's Breath just to protect. Yeah.
Yeah, Death's Breath. Either of those plays, Coco into trading would have given you enough shadows for the Death's Breath. Either of those would have worked. I'm not sure which would have ended up with less bats on board, but ooh.
Okay, so here we're going to see Noah kind of start running out of steam, but he does have the Caraboss, like we saw, like we saw on Mango's side of the board. We'll see if he can get it done for Noah, but he's in a tough spot here, facing down at least an Ektar or maybe even just a Thane this turn. Pretty strong.
He can play right Skull Beast or the Coco into the Eekter. Make sure all these bats die. Well, not all of them, but one. Because Eekter actually will also... he doesn't only give Rush to the zombies. He gives Rush to any other followers you play that turn as well, so...
Yep. +2/+0 and Rush to everything. And now we're going to see the huge shift. So that Ektar turn basically put Noah on the back foot. And realistically, I don't think Caraboss is fast enough to win the game through an Ektar board that BanHackRocks
there's no way.
presented. So
definitely not. That's also like, oh man, I think he's just going to play the Caraboss because he feels like he has to. But if another Eekter is drawn here, this is just 100% over.
Yep, we've got 2, 3, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. Wow.
Hey,
okay.
Lamau.
Good old caster, Chris. Good job, Envy. Good job.
He has Coco left. No, it's just, oh man. He's gonna overkill.
So much damage.
Oh man.
You know, we were trying to have a fair game here where Noah had at least another turn, but no, you had to go and spoil that. I blame you.
Sorry. My bad. I mean, he's playing mid-range
so
Shadow. It's kind of what mid-range is known to do, so.
It's true. So mid-Shadow's out of it now, so let's see if BanHackRocks' sword deck can take out both of the remaining decks for Noah. We'll see how strong this sword can be.
I believe.
If Noah gets taken down by a sword, I'm going to feel bad for him. I'll tell you that much. Again, as Rainey was saying, Noah brought sword every week to Season 1 and did extremely well with it, and now he's just not playing it. If he loses to it, he's gonna regret something. I feel it.
So what's going first? With a mediocre-ish hand. Ugh.
Not a bad curve. Could definitely draw into a better curve, though. Always looking for that Alice, of course.
Trading away Council to find Albedas is not, the best.
Not the best, but now his curve's looking really good on the play. It has that Geno, one of the best 4-drops in the game, and that's really good on the play because it's a 4-drop 4/3. It gains Rush without evolution, and can just smack a dude on the play. When you don't get your Evolves first, it's a really strong play.
Ooh, another one. It's got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here in his hand, so.
Yep. I think we're just going to start seeing a value game.
These are my best work.
Yes. But as Sword is known to do, like you said, they just get there.
Ooh, Macy. Makes sense, when you're playing neutrals. For those of you who don't know what that card is, the 2-mana 2-play point 2/2, and when it evolves, I think it does get full stats. It's a 4/4, and if you have a neutral follower on your side of the board when you would do that, you get a sort of Sledgehammer Exorcist effect. You get to kill an enemy follower. So.
One of the strongest evolution mechanics in the game on Maisie. That's one of the reasons why people choose to play neutral sword, is because of effects like that. Or we see Levy from Rune, where you get the Crimson Sorcerer, we see the Lyrials, that kind of stuff. Maisie's just like, I don't care what you are, you're dead.
Yeah. Just like Sledgehammer, but Macy is 1 mana less, and she does have the full stats on Evolve. You do need a neutral follower in play, but if your whole deck is neutral, then you don't care. Fang Blade Slayer.
Interesting that Noah did not play the Wise Merman there. Especially like when you're playing against Sword and Geno is a realistic play, I think it would have made this turn a lot better for him. And maybe he was afraid of the value trade from the Angel of the Word, but I like that. I would like it if Angel of the Word value traded, because it means 2 damage not going to my face.
My wings are killing me.
That's true. He also just had Lyrial anyway. If Geno attacked a 2/2, it would be stuck at 1 always on 4. So
that's true. Let's see what he decides to follow up with here. Okay. Playing the other Lyrial out. Deciding to save the Faria instead of the Lyrial in hand. For the pump action.
HackRocks draws a Bladed Hedgehog. Can't make use of Macy just yet, since everything just Bladed Hedgehog can come down next to it, but it's a Swordcraft follower, so.
So skewing a little bit from traditional neutral sword, playing a lot less neutral followers with Bladed Hedgehog, Fangblade Slayer, Genos, Mazes, and Alwitas. Yeah, just no neutral followers to be found right now.
Well, to be fair, I think you have to play Geno. He's just he's kind of like one of the reasons.
Probably one of the best 4-drops. Yeah, in the game. Yeah, very good. So Noah has a plethora of ways to deal with this turn.
He does. I do think Angel of the Word is a bit better than developing Alice.
Yes, I think that Angel of the Word plus Faria is a really good turn. I think that Angel of the Word plus Wise Merman plus Goblin is a really great turn, especially against Sword. Going wide against Sword is really nice because Sword doesn't have a lot of mechanics to like empty a big board. So I kind of like filling here, and then Alice next turn with Faria on 6. That seems so strong, actually. Oh no.
Oh no.
Okay.
Never mind. I was gonna say, like you were saying, ooh, he goes with the Alice play instead. I liked the Angel of the Word fill-in plays better, but one of Sword's bigger weaknesses that they have in the game is they don't really have too many ways of board clearing. They have one singular card, Cyclone Blade, that can attack the board, but it's not very good. So
yeah, we don't normally see it because it requires to have something in play in order to activate. Basically what it does is it's 5 play points spell. Also. Yeah, it's a 5 play point spell that deals damage equal to the follower's power that you target to everything else in play. So it'll actually kill your own followers
too. So it also
too, if
kills
you
your
have
stuff.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
There's just plenty of reasons not to play it.
Right.
Let's play again.
Defensive Alwitas coming down, even dumping his Evolve just to get rid of things on the board.
Yep, playing the very late game playstyle here. Those Bladed Hedgehogs not getting very much value this game at all.
They are not. They're basically just dead. It also it feels bad to be playing Sword, the deck that the class that originally dominated the game through sheer stats. Like Floral Fencer on 4 used to be like rage-inducingly hard to get rid of. And here, just neutral cards. He's just playing neutral cards in Runecraft, and he's being outstatted. Poor HackRocks.
Alright, so now he's going to set up the Faria. Council Card Knight's finally being drawn.
Yeah, he can also play Macy with this. These are all neutral, so...
Finally gets a chance to play Macy on turn 7. Very good.
Turn 7, yeah. What a great card. She does get value, though. She gets 6 power off the board. Ooh, aw. HackRocks.
Well, he might have to clear the Bane out here. Yeah, and then...
Attack the 1/3 ward and then value trade the Merman, I do believe, into the Mazy.
Yeah, I think that's the best play. And then save the Evolution Orb before the Faria still. Or something better down the line.
Well, he can't evolve Felice because she evolved herself, but...
Right.
Fangblade Slayer getting some value.
So Fangblade Slayer, one of the heaviest statted minions in the game, followers in the game, at a 3/8 with Russian Bane. And when it attacks, it deals its power and damage to your opponent immediately, which makes it a very strong card.
Kind of like it almost has Storm, not really. I mean, it's probably better than Storm if they have a follower in play, but...
Yes. Much worse if they don't, though. So I've seen games where the Fangblade Slayers hit into an empty board when it could be lethal, and then their opponent's winning on the following turn, so... It's got a drawback, but it's very minuscule.
It's gonna double shoot it with the Hector and the Angel of the Word, who are also both buffed by that Alice.
And this is actually a lethal turn if HackRocks can't find something to deal with this, because at the moment he doesn't have a way to clear any of the followers on Noah's side, so this might be top deck or lose here.
That's game. Not quite yet. He can get rid of the Angel of the Word.
Yes. The top deck was good.
Well, it was enough. I don't know about good.
It was enough. Yes, it was enough. It wasn't an Albert
Finally
or
able to
anything
dump out
like,
these hedgehogs too.
yeah, and get value out of them. Hedgehog kind of nice if you play them early. They're 2 play point 1/3s, and then when an opponent's follower dies, they get pumped. Gilgamesh! Oh, I love it. I love it.
That feel when your draw was enough, but it wasn't enough because they had Gilgamesh anyway.
Because they had Gilgamesh anyway. So Gilgamesh being adopted by so many neutral decks now, just being an 8 play point 5/4 with Storm. Not anything out of the ordinary. Just a big old follower that can win on the turn you play it. Very interesting.
I guess the decks just feel like having that extra reach, and then it can also be buffed by Alice if it's bricked into your hand, so...
Actually had a game on the ladder I was playing earlier today where I had an 8 attack Gilgamesh before Evo, and my opponent rage quit on me. That was a fun one.
That's disgusting. They should have, yeah.
The rage
They should have
quit.
also reported you.
Yes, reported, typed up an email, send that to Cygames customer support. Cygames, please. Exilium is abusing me. I don't like it.
Cygames.
Please save me.
Cygames, please. Hey, 1-on-1 for Noah and BanHackRocks here. So it's come down to the wire. Sword versus Bat Blood. Based on what you guys seen from the Swordcraft deck, I mean, I feel like he came pretty close, right? You hit that 9 play point period, and that's kind of where Albert kind of really starts to do his magic. Do you feel like this Swordcraft deck can hold a candle up to the tried and true aggro blood here?
Absolutely, especially being on the play and having a much better hand than he had last time. He actually has the Bladed Hedgehog to play on 2 with removal spells. He's got Council plus Full Fencer to deal with big boards, which is what you need to do against the Blood decks. So, looking very strong early game here.
Right, Bladed Hedgehog is going to be much more useful than he was last game, and he'll actually get some value. Even though Noah's top decking pretty good cards here.
Yeah. Playing Vite is usually what you want to be doing into a card like this, just because it'll get it off the table, but it's kind of risky, because not taking that Bladed Hedgehog out of play this turn means that Sword, with cards that we know are in Sword, such as Geno and more Shield of Flames, things like that, just to keep clearing while the Bladed Hedgehog gets bigger, is a real risk.
It can be, but Noah gets to evolve first. He will also have Big Knuckle Bodyguard, BKB, as an option next turn, so...
Yep. And took the gamble, and it won for him. He didn't have the removal spell for the Vite, so the Bladed Hedgehog had to get traded there. Angel Lord cleaning up the bat.
Imagine BKB just comes down and pass. Might even evolve, since it's just too much stats to deal with. It does open him up to Council of Card Knights, Bane Evolve, but...
And I guess we didn't really cover what Council of Card Knights did. Council of Card Knights is a very strong new addition from Wonderland Dreams that is a 5 play point spell that gives you 3 1/3s, 1 with Storm, 1 with Ward, and 1 with Bane. So a lot of value for 1 card.
Mm-hmm. Like a little mini Zeus, and there he goes. He goes for the raw evolve, just because the stats are too hard to get rid of.
Luckily for BanHackRocks, he does have the Council here.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very interesting to pre-evo there, because it's not just Council that could have dealt with that, it's also the Maisie, which Noah has seen. He knows that Maisie's in the deck.
Wow, he actually didn't opt to deal with it.
That has to be a mistake.
That, I imagine, will end up becoming a mistake if Noah commits Razor Claw to it.
Yeah. I see like Razor Claw, Angel the Word, or he can even summon Bloodkin plus Ambling Wraith after the Razor Claw and just set up a big board.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting not to
evolve anything
that,
over
though.
the 1/3, and then you get the 5 free face.
Mm-hmm.
Well, enough.
Yeah, looks like he is executing that game plan. Wow, just not caring about the 5-6, and now he just doesn't really have easy ways to deal with it.
Yeah, he's gotten no way to deal with it, actually.
Your Majesty.
Your Majesty.
Going for the
Very
board trade.
interesting choice for HackRocks.
And for
Goblin
Noah, I
Age,
feel like
it's
not
not-
doing 5 face there. Just basically he's saying, I want to protect my bat. You're not going to get any value out of me this game.
Mm-hmm.
My boss works us to the bone. You were done
Man, this
for.
is just... I guess he could shoot down the bat, use the Angel of the Word. The ordering doesn't matter here, really. Angel can still shoot down the bat.
That one didn't count.
This is God's
Yeah, so
blood.
both these players just not wanting to relent board control. Very interesting way to play this matchup.
It's gonna open Noah up to just to slap down Sabror and go face, though.
Blood and pain awaken.
Yep, this is looking really good for Noah now. That not evolving the Bane there, I think, really caused a huge tempo shift in the early part of this game. I think BanHackRocks had the proper draw, just not executing
Gimme.
optimally, I believe. Well, that was an insane draw. Okay, now we're back in it.
Are there?
Pulled Macy. Floral Fencer, it's so sad to just see her sit there and never do anything.
Old bean.
There's nothing to be
You
afraid
can now no longer
Usually on the
evolve Floral
plane, that's the
Fencer.
case.
Yeah. Dumps hand. He does have the Fangblade Slayer next turn for Karabos, so
Now we see the tempo shift right back, essentially. That Maisie off the Goblin Mage was much needed for BanHackRocks. That was such an optimal 2-drop to get.
What a letdown.
I don't know if I'd say this is all of a sudden back in HackRocks' favor. His hand is just out of gas right now outside of the Fangblade Slayer, but Karabos is a much better card than Fangblade Slayer, I think, in the long run. Ooh, never mind. Okay, never mind.
Never mind. Council of Card Knights doing the work of 3 cards.
Ow.
When he
Literally,
decides to play it, of
Fangblade
course.
Slayer into Council and Floral is quite the board flood.
Stay beautiful. Dream for eternity.
Especially considering Fangblade Slayer can still trade into this Karabos, so...
Yep.
Wouldn't
Noah's got to deal with that.
wouldn't
No way to actually finish off the Fangblade Slayer here. And I think Noah's game plan, honestly, the reason why he did the board control thing is he knows Sword in and out, I'm pretty sure, and he knows that getting behind on board is probably not what you want to be doing.
Your time.
HackRocks can actually play, Council of Card Knights into Floral Fencer. That other Fangblade Slayer is huge.
Strength and beauty together.
If any of the
Yeah, this
Council
might be a good
lives...
deck.
Yeah, this is a quick turnaround if any of the Council live.
Ooh. Another Summon
Which they
Collected
have
is
to.
not what Noah wanted to see.
Exactly.
Your Majesty.
The Council will live. That's enough.
That's game.
Wouldn't.
The Council lives on.
The top decks are real.
HackRocks has 8 damage.
And the Albert.
Oh,
just
even
in
drew an
case.
Albert. Oh my gosh.
Sky Knights.
He's a real Sword player. He's playing the Albert.
And then Noah being stricken down by Albert. That's
Ow.
the flavor win there,
HackRocks.
really.
HackRocks doing his victory pose. Good on you, HackRocks. Good job, man. Great play.
2-1 to BanHackRocks. Is this a top 10 anime betrayal right here between Noah and Sword?
I think so.
With Albert being the one in the end to deliver the killing blow. Noah will take the loss here.
I felt so bad for Noah there. Just Albert like crushing Noah's dreams right there just makes me feel really bad for Noah, that's all.
we were once friends, they said.
Yeah.
And I guess on the field of battle in Shadowverse, there is no friendship that lasts longer than a lethal. But Noah takes the loss to BanHackRocks, and Sword, neutral Sword, actually makes it happen. And we talked a little bit heading into that match about Bat Blood versus neutral Sword, and you guys talked about some of these options. Council of Card Knights was incredible in that matchup to me. It really felt like the card that carried over that game. And then in combination with Maisie, and I feel like really it's a slightly more refined version of neutral Sword, because you guys were talking about how it wasn't actually a deck that was necessarily flooded with neutral cards. It was a good mix of the two. Typically, when the expansion first dropped, there were a lot of people playing neutral Sword Did you guys experience what that was? What did that deck look like, and how is that any different than what we see here, or is this really kind of a leveled up version, of reimagining of kind of the deck here, if either of you had experienced Neutral Sword?
Yeah, I definitely have. At the beginning, it was all Cinderella and as many neutrals as you could pack into a single deck and trying to kill your opponent because it was new, it was fresh. What we just saw is a value sword deck. Floral Fencers, Council of Card Knights, Alwitas, like things that just flood the board. Maisie's just kind of in there because she's just really good if you do have neutral followers. And that's pretty much it, just a value game instead of just a neutral aggro plan.
Well, with that, another match completed and done for week 2 of the round robin. We have much more to go, but we maybe should take a little bit of a recap of what that might be. I think that so far the games have been quite interesting to watch, but we have BoltTools versus DocHack, and then later on we have Care versus SprayQuaza, Les versus Pancake, and then Pancake versus Care. So still 4 matches to go in the round robin here. Let's talk a little bit about BoltTools versus DocHack here. And this will be interesting because it is yet another time that Forest will show up. Now, yesterday in the European round robin, Forest Craft managed to take a win. It managed to take a win. So the dream is still alive. I think it's an achievement if we can go through this round robin and have both Swordcraft as well as Forest Craft win their matches. And then we can rub it in Aya Senpai's face. So that's
right.
kind of my goal today, and it's not even that I think DocHack should win, but I think Forest Craft should win its game at least, right? I think I'd be pretty happy with that. But BoltTools is going to be running a neutral rune, and then a Garuda Haven. His mid shadow was banned, and DocHack will have a Rune Daria that's banned, and the 2 decks that he will run is Dread Dragon, which I feel like we haven't seen in a while, and Forest with Roach, Beauty, and the Beast, which seems to be a very popular combination where people will typically run the normal Roach lineup, including something like Aaron. They kind of take out Jungle Ward, and they're not expecting the game to go that long anymore. And then they'll run into the Looking Glass, and then Beauty and the Beast to try to get that combination. Envy, for some of the new players, can you talk about Beauty and the Beast and why Into the Looking Glass is really important within the context of this particular deck?
Sure. So Into the Looking Glass is a new card. It's 2 play points. It's essentially exactly like a pre-existing card, Trail of Light. It just, when you play it, draws you a new card, but it has the added effect of making everything in your hand, and I think it also affects the battlefield. If there's 7 play points or below, they become neutrals. Very important for cards that need neutrals in your hand. Elf-Twin Assault, a 2 play point forest spell, very important. Hector, if they play that, the 5 play point 4/4 ward. And then Beauty and the Beast itself is a 6 play points, 5/6 I think at base. It may start lower. I know it can get to like a 9/10, but basically, if you have 3 or more cards in your hand, it gets a +2/+2 buff. And if you have 3 or more neutrals, or it's a certain number of neutrals, that will make it indestructible, really. It's only killable by combat damage at that point. And if you evolve it, 6 mana 9/10 that can only die to combat damage is sometimes really, really hard to get rid of. So
Yeah.
I believe
it's kind of the point.
Yeah, I believe the 2 requirements are 3 neutrals on play, and then 5 just cards in general in hand to activate and stat boost.
5 cards in general.
So a lot of requirements on the card, but it ends up being a very, very powerful card if you kind of land in that situation. But the match is ready, and we are about to go. BoltTools versus DocHack. Envy, who would you want to see take the win? And maybe this is a better question to ask here, because we've discussed Forestcraft a little bit. What does your heart say? What does your mind say?
I think BoltTools has better matchups, and he's also one of the more expressive players in NA, so I want him to win.
That's very true.
He's kind of like our mascot at this point. And then DocHack's got Forest. I don't know. It's not PTP Forest, so I don't have like this need to cheer for it. But you know, see if it's to win.
All right. Well, let's see.
Look at
BoltTools
bottles already.
was certainly very animated, and I love that. So it looks like we're going to be kicking off with the Forestcraft deck right off the bat against Runecraft here. We've got the old man Runecraft leader, Erasmus. Is that Is that what it was?
Erasmus, the
yeah.
best leader of all time.
My god, look at that. Jesus. Alright guys, take it away. What is this match looking like?
Well, first and foremost, Bottles' face. I'm on point with this. He's on focus mode right now. Like opening into this game in the thinker, man. So good, I love it. As far as matchup is concerned, Bottles is on the play. He's playing a very aggressive deck, depending on how aggressive his hand is, which it's looking like could be aggressive enough. Can just slide the game away from Forrest, but if Forrest can retake board control, then I think Forrest has a really good end game to beat out the neutral deck.
Show's over.
It can. Forrest, DocHack's hand is, I don't know. I think his mid game is a bit too good. He's got that Elf Twin Assault. He's got the Hector, like I mentioned, and he's also just naturally drawing a lot of neutrals. We saw the Elf Twin Assault just do 5 right there, and he's even got Aaron for some late game. So I actually like DocHack's position in this game a lot.
You're
Yep,
done for.
he's looking very strong here. And Magical Fairy Lilac is a great new addition for Forrest. It's a 3-play.14 that has a Clash ability that says whenever it basically enters combat with another follower, the other follower is destroyed. But then that ability goes away, so it only happens once.
Would be way too good if it kept happening.
If it kept happening, that card would be probably the most insane card ever. But being a 3/6 that gets to kill anything, essentially, and then just stay in play without taking any damage is still very strong for an early game play.
Here we go.
I like Bodil's options here. He could have played Dance of Death, but he's going to go for Levi attacking into Piercing Rune instead, because, you know, Lilac had used her ability. He might just cast the Crimson Sorcery as well. No, he holds on to it, but this makes an Oz draw a little bit better, since you can just make the dance 1.
I'm all tuckered out.
Right. So now it's really just, can Bottles top deck? Right now he's just got spells, the Dance of Deaths to kill followers, so he's got some time. Basically, the Dance of Deaths will allow for him to have some time to draw some things. But essentially, he's got 7 damage in hand. Can he find 6 more off the top?
And if he finds Oz, that's pretty easy. She can easily draw 6.
I'm sorry.
Ow!
I'm pretty sure that we're going to see Fina evolve this turn just to get more Roach combo shenanigans happening faster. Could play the Aaron just to be safe, I suppose, but I
I
doubt
might
it.
just play double Goblin Mage.
That's true.
Beautiful, powerful, and
Double
Fina,
Goblin Mage is good
okay.
too. Fina keeps the hand size the same for Will of Force to be good. Not as necessary right now, but it also gives you that 0 cost to combo with Roaches as soon as you get the Nature's Guidance.
True.
And again, just a quick run through on how Force combos work for those of you who don't know. Roach is a 2-play.11 follower that gains Storm and +1/+0 for every spell played before it. So essentially you try to get a bunch of cheap spells in your hand, cast them all, cast your Roaches. There's another card in the deck that bounces Roaches back to your hand, replay them, and then just try to go for lethal in a single huge combo turn.
Very similar to Storm in Magic: The Gathering. There's the Oz, though, that I mentioned.
There we
Oz
go.
into
So we
Dance
might
of Death
see a-
leaves 1 play point floating.
I am a fiction.
Yep,
and a
I like
falsehood.
this.
There's another
Perfect.
Oz, even to keep it going.
Running away is okay.
So now DocHack is against the wall here. Even if he clears board, he's still not going to have a lot of health left over. So he might opt to be defensive here. Nope.
So for the
Just gonna
board
kill off
clear,
the
it's
wizards.
kind of odd for Bottles if he doesn't play a follower here. It's odd for Bottles to find lethal without being able to use Mutagenic Bolt or Piercing Rune. He goes for the Zierman and Goblin
Really?
Mage. Is he going for a Roach Poke? He's going for a Roach Poke, yeah.
Interesting
Get
play.
that cheeky 3 damage in.
This basically opens him up to so many things, though, by playing those. I'm not sure. Maybe that's a
Yeah.
concession, is what that is. He's just like, you know what, you got me. I'm not sure.
I want to give our players the benefit of the doubt and say that they would never play in such a way, but Felice evolves for free and just gets that 4 face, and now DocHack is on that 1 turn clock. There's almost nothing he can do to prevent a lethal if he doesn't just have one of his own.
Yeah, the Aaron will come down to help stifle, but even with an evolved Aaron can't take out the Felice, so he's going to jam both of these followers into the Felice to take care of it.
Mm-hmm. Piercing Rune would be lethal. That's about all it's lethal, actually. Because he can't Piercing Rune... He can't Dance of Death Hector.
Well, there's no Dance in hand, and Hector is not technically active yet, so a Piercing Rune off the top, I don't think we'll get there, right?
No, because Hector requires 3 neutrals, you'd be right.
Yeah, so, but still has a great follow-up turn, and with using that Roach and the Goblin Mage, basically just saying to Bottles, I'm not comboing you anytime soon. So, Bottles still has plenty of turns here to get to lethal.
DocHack is, I guess, considering this evolve, or not? I think you literally have to do it. Whoa!
He's going face.
I imagine he's seen 2 Dance of Deaths already, and he realizes that, you know, if Bottles just has a 3rd one, then go for it, but it's
I
not
like
likely
that.
that he
I
does.
like that play a lot.
On the warfield.
There's the 3rd neutral, though, that will put Hector online, and because an evolve is still available, Bottles just has lethal, so...
Playing the BM Alice. Saying, hey,
Can't withstand me.
I got extra damage just in case. So DocHack, while that play might say, like, it might show you that he's like, oh, you know, I'm just gonna concede essentially if you have the right spells to kill me there. But if he plays all defense right there, he has no way to close the game out. So at least he put himself into a position where maybe he could close the game out if Bottles didn't have the win that turn.
Exactly. DocHack was put into the classic play to win, not play to prevent your loss for one other turn.
Right.
He was trying to set up a lethal the following turn after having used the Roach. So
I'm still gonna question that one play, but like you said, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he had a game plan in mind that I wasn't thinking of.
this is a tournament worth $16,000. I don't think anybody this far would just concede like that.
That's true.
I
That's
think
true. That's true.
DocHack had a plan.
Okay. I'll give it to you, DocHack. You got a brain on you, and pass mine on that play.
It's just his play was so next level, so ascended, that you just couldn't tell what he was doing.
I completely agree. I like that word, ascended. Perfect word.
Ascended.
All right.
He's past the
So
pleb
we've got-
plays.
Right. Okay, so Bottles is on an aggressive Haven plan, not defensive like we've seen in the past. So he's doing the more aggressively minded amulets to try to just end the game quicker, which is actually a very good strategy against Force because it doesn't put anything into play on turns that Force can naturally deal with things. Like this Elf Twin Assault, not going to be able to be used very easily.
It won't. And Force, he actually got rid of Kai'Sa, even though I think Kai'Sa would be pretty good value. Just trade with birds continuously.
Well, you play against
kinda-
Haven, you never know if the carrots are going to get banished and stuff like that, so...
That's true, yeah. Bottles is playing a more aggressive, less banishy list. Ooh, Hollow Dogma.
Will he pop the trigger? I think he's going to go with the bird song this turn, but he might go crazy here. The going crazy here play does open up the 2-1 to be dealt with, though, so I don't know if that one is where I would go.
That is true. True. You also just have Luxwing Reno Doggo next turn into Divine Birdsong Hollow Dogma on 5, so it's not like you need to, cash in that value immediately.
Yeah, and turn 5 is, like you said, it's going to be a nightmare for DocHack to deal with. Like, he's got a double play here into both of his amulets popping, into the Divine Birdsong, into Hollow Dogma to pop it immediately. So this is going to be an exciting turn 5 for Bottles. It might even just be enough to just outright win the game, considering what DocHack has in hand. There's no Will of the Forest over there. There is an Into the Looking Glass with an ETA to clear up some of it. That's about it.
Right, but if you spend your whole turn playing Looking Glass ETA, then you better hope Looking
deal with
Glass
it all.
drew something useful. Yeah.
So Bottle's really having a hard time deciding if he wants to play the Doggo or save it for value. Heavenly Hound, affectionately named Doggo, of course, is a 2-play point 2/2 that gets pumped. It gets O2 and Ward if you have an Evolved Follower in play. So big benefits if you wait, but
think he's basically
think
just
he's considering-
considering, you know, Elf, do I want this to happen to Elf Twin Assault?
Right. And if he pops the Elf Twin Assault here, he's not going to have any removal for the big turn 5 coming, so see how that plays out.
Ooh, uh-oh.
No connection issues in the
DocHack
top
waiting
12,
for a
please.
response.
Bless up in chat, please.
This might explain
Let's
some
make sure that
plays,
DocHack
actually.
doesn't get conceived. Okay,
The
good.
doggo's too good, dude. The doggo causes you to disconnect.
It is the heavenly doggo.
So knowing what we know, I don't think
Honestly.
Elf Twin Assault, even looking at the current board, like, Arya is poppable, Birdsong is poppable. I don't think you can play Elf Twin Assault this turn.
I think this is a perfect turn for Into the Looking Glass to get it online and to play Wood of Brambles to effectively trade with the board. And I think that's all you need to do this turn. Yep. Into the Looking Glass afterwards, because his ordering is better than mine, so that all of them become neutral.
All of them become neutral. Well, you probably just forgot that Brambles gave fairies to your hand.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Brambles gives fairies to your hand, so it's gonna play the fairies actually.
Oh. Okay. Wants to contest the board. Doesn't care about putting the neutrals in hand just yet. Alright, here we go.
I imagine, you know, there's a lot of value popping this turn, so. Oh no! Cudgel.
More options.
That's the play. I mean, Cudgel's just too good not to do it.
Yep, get to remove the ward, so no value gotten off that, and then I imagine just all face.
I see. Always.
Try to limit the value from the Wood of Brambles here.
This is looking
Wood of Brambles,
really bad for
of
Doc.
course, guys. On top of what you guys saw, it gives you 2 fairies in hand, but it gives all of your followers clash deal of damage to an opposing follower too. So, very good value in trades there. Decided to go with the full trade too. Didn't deal the 3 with the Regal Falcon. Decided to trade with it instead.
I actually kind of like that because he could have traded the fairy into the bird, and the bird would have just died, and the fairy would have stayed to get even more value.
True.
So,
It's very true.
Class finds Sylvan Justice.
I think he still has to go with the ETA here. He
I mean,
does
if
have
you
a fairy to
Sylvan
evolve
Justice
also.
Yeah, well, if you Sylvan Justice a 3/2 evolve and hit the 2/1, that's the worst case scenario for ETA, but it's at least guaranteed.
Let's play.
I like this line of play, evolve into the 4/3, and then ETA afterwards to get the best shot at hitting that 4/4. Oh, he's going with the
Ooh.
value play. Okay.
Value play, hit that 4/3/4/4. Okay.
Not bad though.
Almost
Not a
got
bad
there.
turn. I'm pretty sure the value game's out of
However-
Bottles' head now. I think he wants to just.
Yeah.
Oh no, still go for value. Okay.
Bottles can just evolve.
real
So, yeah, bottles can just evolve for 6 here. Ugh.
It's a lot of damage.
That is some deeps coming down from that tiger.
Ooh. Another ETA off the top. Very nice draw. 2, 3, 4, 5. Not enough to kill a 6/6 though, so he's gonna have to do something else. Sylvan Justice.
DocHack has the Flower Princess to add all 3 cards into Sylvan Justice. It does die though, so.
Yeah, that's another play. You could Flower Princess, get the Thorn Burst, evolve, and use the Thorn Burst, or use the Sylvan Justice. Most likely the Sylvan Justice, of course. Or he could Sylvan Justice into ETA, but that doesn't seem like an optimal play.
I think the Flower Princess is the better setup since you also have a Roach and a Nevermind and a Nature's. Ooh, another Roach.
Okay. Alright, so yeah, Sylvan Justice into Evolved Goblin Mage. This also makes sense.
It won't be long now.
I guess he plans to play Flower Princess next turn? Or she wouldn't have quite... No, she wouldn't have triggered anyway. She needs 3 neutrals in hand, right?
3 neutrals, yeah. So definitely
To add
blows the
Flamers.
threshold.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She
I'm
wouldn't
pretty
trigger
sure
anyway.
that the one Roach and the Nature's Guidance are neutral from the End of the Looking Glass. I don't remember specifically, but that's still not enough.
Oh, right, yeah. Ooh, a Dark Gen. The
Ooh.
draw off of that Dogma.
Ow!
Is that a
You didn't
dual
call it
flames?
fairy.
No, what am I saying? That's March Hare's tea time. I got completely
Dual
confused by the
flames.
fact of that animation. The animated animation confused
Where'd
me.
the tin soldier come from? EXO, are you okay?
Right, yeah, you know what? Okay, sometimes my brain, it does things when I see things, I don't know.
Elt won assault for 3, wiping the board, making Jun much less dangerous. Is he going for
this-
roach pokes? Don't go for roach pokes.
Going for roach pokes again. I have not seen this from any roach player ever. He's got a new strategy that I just don't know about, but this does expose his roach to being killed by the Dark John, which it is.
It's also not pushing any meaningful damage. I mean, he doesn't exactly have 15 damage on 3 cards with 1 roach.
Right, and basically just giving up his roach combo cards. He's saying, you know what, I
Never
don't
mind, he
need all
drew
the
the best
roaches to
card.
win.
This ends here.
He drew the best possible thing he could have drawn, so it's fine.
Blow you away.
So we will have access to the 3rd roach and gets to put a 0-drop into his hand to help with the combo. Let's actually do combo math right now. So he could technically play, let's see, 2 roaches is 4, so that's a 7 play point combo. He doesn't have anything else he can play before it. So he can do 2 bounce 4, 5, so he can do 11 damage at the moment. Not quite enough. If he draws another 2-drop, he can do 13 damage, which is still not quite enough.
If he draws another natures, he can get higher. Daco has to kill Fina here. Could also go for a Dance of Death and get aggressive.
Fun.
I like that play a lot. He's out of gas,
Setting
needs to
up a
push every
two-turn
last
lethal
card he
here.
has.
Lilac.
See, the thing is if he would have kept that roach much closer to lethal
Yeah.
right now.
He only poked for 4, so bottles would be at 19 though, so. DocHack is just not drawing the neutrals necessary to put Flower Princess online. He's not getting into Looking Glasses or anything. So, Goblin Mage,
Sparkly stuff.
Roach, Nature's Roach is nothing. Roach, Nature's Roach. It's still basically
Yeah, I think
nothing.
he's got to clear with one of the high roaches here. I think he's just going to go, okay, there you go. There's something. It's a little extra poke damage.
Looking Glass. His combo's so low this turn though. He can put bottles at 4. If his combo's at 3,
think-
I do.
What he's thinking about
Have
doing
actually-
is playing Roach anyway and just trying to get in there and then just clearing one of the 2/2s up because he has to or else he's going to die.
He does have to kill one of the 2/2s, yeah. If he doesn't kill them both, he dies to Dogma. But yep.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't imagine him saving the other roach. He's not going to get another turn to play that many spells.
Ooh,
Ooh.
it's not lethal, but it's
So-
pretty good.
so pretty good. So now he's got the Pinion Prayer propping next turn, plus the Dark John in play. And this is really, I don't know what DocHack can draw here to win this game. I don't think there's a single card. Aaron can help. And that's that.
Yeah, it's definitely not Fina.
Bottles, look at him. Look at Bottles over there. He's already doing the championship pose.
His hands are up. He's doing the "please don't kill me" dance. He's just please. Don't kill me.
Okay.
Please don't kill me.
I'll do it. Bottles, the champion. Good man. That was a
And
well played
Garuda.
game.
Golden wing.
And Garuda, just for good measure here.
You're strong.
Well played, Bottles. Good man.
I'm very upset.
Because Forrest lost.
Forrest lost twice.
I'm right up there with you, man. Forrest losing always feels bad.
It's super tough.
Team
So,
Bottles.
Roach combos typically really lean on zero cost drops, right? Either zero cost fairies that you get from Elven Princess Mage, where when you evolve the card, gives you 2 zero cost fairies, or Fina's giving you zero cost Goblin Mages, and then kind of playing off of that to get you more cards played in this turn, right? Which buffs the Roach's damage. Talk to us a little bit about the construction of this particular deck. What is really the idea behind mixing the Roach game plan and then trying to jam something like a Beauty and the Beast in there? And do you think there's a little more are there more optimal ways to build a deck? Is there more refinement that can happen, or do you think this is kind of the limit that Forest can reach to Exo?
So the reason that you see Beauty and the Beast is because specifically Elf Twins Assault is why you're playing the neutral package. Beauty and the Beast is just a nice little extra. Usually Forest already plays draw card spells like Glimmering Wings, which will draw a card or something like that, so Into the Looking Glass kind of fits the same role anyway, and then it powers up things like Elf Twins Assault so that you can deal with the early game. And Beauty and the Beast is kind of there to bridge the turns from turn 6 to like 7, 8, 9 to when the Roach combo can actually go off. And it makes your opponent deal with something, basically kind of as a diversion, and then you can Roach combo kill them after that's done. And sometimes Beauty and the Beast can just win the game. It happens from time to time, but it can always be refined more. Forest is a combo deck, so finding the right ins and outs for each particular matchup, depending on your game plan, it can always be refined more. Absolutely.
So, not today, but DocHack will fall. BoltTools moves on. Very, very happy with that win. And his record is pretty good in the round robin right now. And I think we are about at that halfway point of the broadcast. So we are soon to go to break. But before we do, just a few other reminders. I want to make sure to keep telling all those beautiful viewers out there that Shadowverse will be at PAX West. So what that means is if you are in Seattle and you are going to PAX, there is Shadowverse to be played, Shadowverse activities to be done, and Exodiums to meet. There's multiple Exodiums apparently now. Exodium will be there. He will be streaming in the booth and playing some Shadowverse, interviewing a bunch of people. We'll have a bunch of other fun stuff around there, and make sure to come out, meet him, talk with him, play against him, and just hang out and have fun enjoying Shadowverse.
Come say hi.
Yeah, all the previous events that we've done have been really, really fun, and we're really, really happy to see a bunch of fans, whether they know the Shadowverse Open or not, kind of coming out and hanging out. So it's a ton of fun. Hope to see you guys there. Also, make sure to go to the website shadowverse.nge.io for any information about tournament stuff and when the broadcasts are happening, who these players are. The top 12 of North America and Europe are competing in the round robin right now, and so get to know them a little bit better. Also, at Shadowverse Game is going to be the Twitter account that you can get a bunch of announcements and news updates and a lot of really cool stuff there. Interviews of players, new videos that are coming out from the community, all that kind of cool stuff. So, with that, we have a few more matches to go, but before we get to those, we're going to take a short break, and when we're back, the rest of Week 2 of the North American Round Robin. welcome back. After a nice long break, here we are again in a competition of several incredible individuals playing a game that is on a digital platform through the internet that is somewhat similar to something like cards. You know, they're fighting against each other, they're competing in a digital card game, you could say, is a good way to put that. It also happens to be called Shadowverse. That's what we're doing in Shadowverse Open, week 2 of North American Round Robin. I'm just here to entertain myself at this point.
Well, it's like a Mad Lib to remind you what you were doing.
I'm just here to entertain myself. I'm Rainy. I have no idea what I'm talking about. These two people know a lot more about what they're talking about. We got Envy Bear on one side and Exodium on the other side. No, I did not use their full names this time. And you guys should know them by those names because they are big in the Shadowverse community. One a popular streamer and the other part of Shadow Nexus, which is a good community. Actually, there are a lot of things. You can join their Discord, you can go to their website, they do a lot of tournaments. They're just very involved in the Shadowverse community. So, definitely if you're interested in playing the game, first of all, give it a download in the Twitch panels. Then, find Shadow Nexus resources and use them to help you learn the game and get your springboard into the Shadowverse Open Season 3 when that comes around. But let's take a look at the standings and see how this tournament is progressing. The Shadowverse North American Open is kind of almost halfway through. So Gengar continues his lead 2-0. JZ is 2-1. Kiramango is now 1-1, tied with Underwear and Noah. And BanHackRocks finds his first win. His first win, playing really well. 1-2 against Noah. Meanwhile, in Group B, we're about to see a bunch of matches here, but Les Pancake and Care sharing the top spot there. And then BoltTools, SprayQuaza, and DocHack are just about to figure out if they can move up into that upper half of the group. But coming up, we have a few matches to look forward to. Shadow Nexus's CarePackage against SprayQuaza is going to be the first matchup. And then Les versus Pancake Reaper, and then Pancake Reaper versus Care. So there's going to be a little bit of a cycle here of players. Care and Pancake going to be playing against two different opponents and then playing against each other. Let's talk about the decks. Dragon, Dread, which we didn't get to see in the last game because DocHack, even though he was fielding it, attempted to use Forcecraft twice and lost both times, so we didn't get to see that played out. But this time, Care is bringing that Dragon Dread package, and then Burn Rune against SprayQuaza's Neutral Rune and Haven Aegis. Now, we haven't actually gotten to see Queen of the Dread Sea a lot. Envy, if you could talk about that card, how it fits into the Dragon deck archetype and what it does, so that we can kind of know what to expect from this particular match. What is Queen of the Dread Sea?
Sure. Queen of the Dread Sea is a 10 play point 7/7. She, when she comes into play, she has a fanfare that lets you pick one of the faction cards in your hand and then one of the neutral cards in your hand. Both those cards go to 0, and then you ditch the rest of your hand. So she's neutral. She's playable in a lot of things, except Dragon kind of just has the best tools for that. They can make Genesis Dragon and Zeus both 0, dump them down, and then that's 12 damage face, left with the 7/7 and a bunch of other stuff on the board. It's basically she just kind of fits the Ramp Dragon package. You know, once you get to 10 play points, there aren't too many things you can do. Like, you're at 10 play points, but you don't just want to always run Bahamut out there. You don't want to always run Zeus out there. She sort of gives you that reach that you lost from the Zell combos if you have the right cards in your hand. So, it's just kind of cool.
What do you think, Exo, are the good matchups here against Rune Neutral, against Haven Aegis? Is there anything that you would actually prefer to run Queen of the Dread Sea Dragon against?
Queen of the Dread Sea Dragon essentially has a good matchup versus any deck. I think it's one of the strongest decks in the game. I know that some might disagree with me, but I think that Polyphonic Roar is another really good tool with Queen of the Dread Sea. You drop that down with like a Zeus to protect, and then you just start jamming out a bunch of value every single turn, that kind of thing. But yeah, I think Dragon actually has a head up. I'm just looking at the matchup right now. But Neutral Rune, as I said, is also one of the best decks. And Neutral Rune on the play can easily beat Dragon if it has the right curve. So it really is going to come down to what tools they have access to and what kind of draws they get. So this will be a fun match.
And that really seems to be the theme of the expansion, really, is Neutral Rune and Burn Rune. All these different archetypes that Runecraft is able to run in this current meta really seem to always have a strong side to it, and, you know, have usually on its lowest, on its downside. I mean, maybe Neutral Rune can really brick pretty hard, but for the most part, it's relatively consistent, and perhaps that's what makes it one of the most popular decks to run in this format. But we're about to jump into the game very soon. Make sure to go to shadowverse.nge.io to find more information about the tournament and figure out when the broadcast is happening, how far we are, check the scores, and look at all the players, and also find information about whatever interviews we've done and content that's happening. Also, at Shadowverse Game is going to be our Twitter. You can tweet at that channel and talk with us. We'd love to read your tweets. I love social media. It's the best.
Oh, yeah.
Everything everybody says on the internet is so positive and happy.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
All the time.
All of it.
All right, here it is. SprayQuaza versus Shadow Nexus's CarePackage. Tell me, who has the upper hand? Who do you think will win?
Sure. So I think that Neutral Rune is really good versus Haven. Burn Rune can suffer a little bit because it does have some things that can get banished, such as Magic Illusionist. That might hurt it a little bit. But this is just aggro versus control. It really depends on if the aggro can push or if the control can stop the beats. What do you think about this matchup, Envy?
I think Care is in a pretty good spot. Those two draws make me redact that almost immediately, but Care was in a,
right.
a good spot before. Being on the play is where you want to be, but that Halo Golem's just gonna get nommed, and then I think March Hare's Tea Time probably closes this out, actually.
Yeah, March Hare's into Dark John. Basically, everything in the hand of CarePackage right now actually just straight up dies to Dark John, except for the Master Mage Levi. I mean, and like you said, the Halo Golem is going to get taken care of before that. So we'll see how this plays out. This should be fun.
He does have double Dwarf Alchemist. I mean, I guess he can just get some Earthrights going. So there will be some face damage, but SprayQuaza made sure to stop me before I even mentioned that by drawing a Curate. So he actually has the 4, 5, 6, 7 to stop Burn Rune.
Yep, has the Blackened Scripture just in case too to clear out a multiple follower board here, which there will be. And then, like you said, SprayQuaza is sitting over there with a bunch of 2-for-1s in his hand. Like you said, you've got Priest of the Cudgel into March Hare's Tea Time, into Dark John, which could possibly do more than a 2-for-1 depending on the board state, and then Curate to follow up just to gain life back in case he gets into a hairy situation.
It's not looking too good for Care. Knowing both situations, I think SprayQuaza's still just going to play completely safe here.
Yep, 100%. So Snow White doing what Snow White does, clearing out one of these Dwarf Alchemists, and then Blackened Scripture probably clearing out the other. Oh, no. Okay.
Ooh. Just plays the other one. It's kind of interesting to see Snow White just trade. You know, usually don't see her go for a 1-for-1 against a 2-drop, which would be an equal trade. But I guess he opted to do it just to slap down the other one. He does have Cudgel next turn, so it's not like Care can develop anything that matters, so...
Making this play does essentially say, hey, Care, I don't mind that you deal 2 extra damage to me this game, which generally when you're playing control, you don't want to let your opponent deal extra damage to you if you can help it, but developing the Snow White will advance his board state in such a way that maybe he can start getting aggressive if he wants to.
It also might fake Care into thinking that SprayQuaza doesn't actually have that good of an option in his hand to get rid of that, but we know.
We definitely know. And that Heavenly Hound is pretty good too for next turn, with the Snow White potentially getting evolved for free, or the March Hare's Tea Time, which we know is going to get played next turn, almost assuredly.
The Doggo will be interesting to play. He could use it as an alternative along with Blackened Scripture instead of Jun on 6.
Mm-hmm.
But this is kind of where
a lot of
SprayQuaza is
options.
sort of taken over the game, is going to start happening. Like, this is just... These next 3 or so turns are going to be where SprayQuaza flips this on Care, I think.
Yep, so Care's kind of put into the mode of, I just need to go face damage as much as I possibly can. He does have Little Levi to evolve here, and to get the Crimson Sorcerer in hand to burn for 3. He also has access to another Halo Golem, which can burn for 3, and a Master Mage Levi, which can burn for 3. So he definitely has a good amount of burn. But if he can't close the door fast enough, that Curate will come back to basically just say, hey, Wizardess of Oz, you need to carry this game, and if you don't draw what you need, I'm going to be too healthy for you to do anything about me. So
That is possible, yeah. I mean, he does have 9 damage in hand. It's spread out across 11 play points, though, so it's kind of like, you know, he can't dump all of it. But if he does dump all of that, and then Oz just draws the nuts, right? She gets like 2 Dance of Deaths and like a Mutagenic Bolt or something, then, you know, he could just steal the game like that.
Yep. And we've definitely seen Wizardess of Oz steal some games, even today. Wizardess of Oz, a very good game, or a very, very good card. Alright, so Marchero's tea time as expected.
And even though we expected that to come down and kill, you know, 2 followers with the evolve, it doesn't even matter because it's now just sitting here threatening to evolve. So.
Okay, that's another 3 damage off the top.
Second Levi's pretty good, considering you can play Halo Golem, go face, and evolve Levi.
Yep, I like that play the best. Like, just basically forget about what Haven's doing, because Haven's not going to be able to close the door fast enough to where it's really going to matter if you just ignore their followers. So, just want to try to end the game as fast as you can if you're in Care's position.
Right. You're playing a burn deck that wants to execute its own plan. You don't really care about a deck that's not going to. A deck playing reactive, as long as you force them to play reactive, you don't really care what they're doing. It goes for the Crimson Sorcerer on face into nothing else instead.
Very interesting play. Not sure why. Using the extra play points on the Halo Golem this turn would free up next turn to play Levi plus the Crimson Sorcery. So not sure what the idea behind that turn was.
Definitely interesting, and here we actually see, I think, the alternative 6 play point play. Never mind, he's gonna gen instead. I was gonna say I think he may have been going for dog in description, but gen is just going to be the play instead. This actually flips a lot of aggression onto Care.
This is a ton, especially with the Evo here.
Yeah, this is a
Dark
ton of
John,
damage.
Very good card, for those of you who don't know. 6 play point 5/5 deals 2 to everything in play, and everything that survives gets +2/+0. So very good aggressive and defensive card, depending on the board state.
He just slapped Care for 10. Yeah. The entire amount that Care has been working the entire game to get onto SprayQuaza, and SprayQuaza just in 1 turn slaps it onto him.
And there's like not a real way to actually deal with the board here. I think this is just it.
Yeah, like, SprayQuaza noticed that Care was out of evolves and just kind of went in. Like, said, okay, you're out of evolves, come at me, kid. Like,
I think the only play here is a Wizardess with a prayer for a Mutagenic Bolt. As I think that's the only thing he can really hope for here.
Which is scary, pretty spoopy. Then he didn't get it. That's not it.
That's just game. Wow.
That's just game.
Not how I expected this game to go at all.
Care just got the game stolen right out from under him.
Dark John plus Tin Soldier. It's too much damage.
That's what I call
deep.
Very well played from SprayQuaza.
2-turn
Alright,
kill
so CarePackage is going to have to go back to the drawing board. Yeah, Tin Soldier's very good. Dealing 3 damage on Evolve, becoming a 5/6, very big follower. So now we're going to have to see if SprayQuaza can use his rune deck to finish out both Dragon and the rune deck from CarePackage. We'll see if he's got what it takes.
I imagine CarePackage just leads back out with rune here. I don't think you... Do you want the Dragon? I mean, you got to play it anyway if you win, but I don't think you want to deal with that
Yeah,
just yet.
that's always the weird question about it. It's like you have to win with both decks, so it doesn't really matter. So realistically, the only thought would be I really want to take a break from this deck because it's tilting me a little bit or something like that, so I can play something else and then get a fresh game with it later. But in this matchup, I haven't really.
like, so.
Yeah, this is like neutral rune versus burn rune. I'm not really sure. I haven't played this matchup very much, but I'd have to say that neutral rune probably has a slight edge, just because it has a lot of 2-for-1s without evolution orbs. But being on the play or the draw could also be super important, so this will be an interesting game to watch. CarePackage's hand not very proactive on the play, though. A lot of amulets.
Yeah, it looks really weird. He does have Demonic Strike, but Demonic Strike's literally just a bad Halo Golem. So...
Usually something you want to draw off of Wizardess so that you can end the game with, not something you really want in your opening hand.
Or at least have a Wizardess in your hand to make it 1. It's pretty bad when it costs 4 play points.
Yep. Alright, so CarePackage being on the play, being the defensive player with his aggressive deck, unfortunately. Not the spot he wants to find himself in, I'm sure.
Which sometimes happens in Shadowverse. You know, you're stuck on the play and you just don't draw the cards you need on the play. SprayQuaza, on the other hand, just has an amazing hand.
A lot of stuff to do. That's one of the benefits of neutral rune in general. It's just you're playing a bunch of followers that all have value. You're not really playing anything that just dirtles around.
Which is great because dirtling is bad.
Dirtling is bad, especially in this game. This is a very fast-paced game, and if you dirtle on your turns, you're going to get pretty far behind.
Done for.
It's like SprayQuaza is going to go for the Time War Mage Levi, evolve here into probably Crimson Sorcery onto the Halo Golem, into the Goblin.
Yep.
Just get that value down.
Reserves the 4/4 body. That was a decent draw. At least now he can clear board easily and solve a follower in play. I like this. He could go Magic Illusionist. Yeah, D's. He can go Magic Illusionist, evolve into the Levi plus Piercing Rune. He could play Red Hot Ritual this turn as well, but I think dealing the extra 2 with Piercing Rune when you can is good. And then saving the sigils in hand just in case you do draw something you want to use with it later and not just get eaten up by the Magic Illusionist.
If he does use the this already existing sigil though and doesn't pre-place another one, like Evolving the Illusionist would do, then a Calamitous Curse is not playable on curve next turn.
That's true.
If he needs to. He may not need to, though.
Really depends, too, because if he does play the other sigil and then SprayQuaza deals with the Magic Illusionist again, it will still remove the sigil, though. So, this will be an interesting choice for SprayQuaza on his turn on what he wants to do here.
I imagine the heads-up Hector immediately onto Illusionist Evolve is going to be the play here.
I like this. Yeah, completely removing Magic Illusionist from the equation. Very good to do when you can. Plus it pops the sigil in a way that CarePackage doesn't really have any advantage from. So
very quick to make that play, especially when Care was going into 6 play points. Calamitous Curse comes online, but so does Master Mage Levi and Professor Taboos. So all cards you don't want to have an Earth Sigil to eat.
That's right, and all of which don't really do much this turn. So I really think that Red Hot Ritual plus either a Halo Golem or Piercing Rune or Demonic Strike will be the play this turn, just to get another sigil in play, but CarePackage not really having any gas to be able to deal the 20 points of damage he needs to win this game with.
Right. When you look at CarePackage's hand, you're like, whatever, his hand's whatever, you know? But we're on turn 6, and his opponent is at 20 life still, so that's huge.
And technically they're both playing aggressive decks, but right now they've just been playing the value game. Unfortunately for CarePackage, all of SprayQuaza's cards in hand actually generate a ton of value. He's got 2 refill mechanics now, he's got a Hector to push, he's got a Feria plus an Evolution Orb to present a big board on a turn that he wants to. He just has a lot of options here.
I think Care's going to be pushed into the board clear situation again, which is just not what he wants to be doing.
Nope. I think he might save the Calamitous Curse yet another turn just for a bigger board. Like, he might just go, like, simple Piercing Rune pass here and not even do anything else, just to see what SprayQuaza does to get, like, a huge value Calamitous Curse out.
That's true. He can't afford to, never mind. I was gonna say he can't afford the Halo Golem with that Earthright, but he goes for it.
Now, this play basically turns off Calamitous Curse from being big value, because Calamitous Curse without an Earth Sigil in play only removes followers or banishes followers with 2 defense or less from play, whereas the Sigiled version would remove 5 or less, which is basically what most of SprayQuaza's hand is.
That Felice was a perfect draw, slapping for 3 completely and then evolving for free. She was enhanceable this turn.
Yeah, absolutely perfect draw with the 3 neutrals to clear out the board. And now I don't know what CarePackage can draw really off the top to just deal with the value that SprayQuaza has, period. Like, I know he set up before, but now he's just in a situation where he just doesn't have anything. He's just gonna try to burn face and hope to top deck for the win.
It looks like the plan, yeah. Demonic Strike going face instead of onto Felice. You would advertise Calamitous Curse pretty hard, but at least you would have a way of clearing her if your opponent flooded the board, so...
That is true. Okay, Wizardess coming out.
She doesn't draw anything, though, since Crimson Sorcerer wasn't played first.
I kind of like that, though, basically expecting that Wizardess to die anyway, so not a potential card being discarded. Alright, here's the swing turn. Wizardess was a great draw.
Red Hot Ritual into Calamitous Curse is good.
Very good. Very good. Wizardess Savage showing just how powerful she is here in a situation where you think you can't do anything. Redrawing up to 5 cards, pretty good. Making that Calamitous Curse only cost 1.
Yeah, also turning spells into 1 is really strong.
Especially 6 play point ones.
I think Care might be sandbagging his options here a little bit, since there's realistically nothing else he can do.
Yep. Making sure to get the Witch's Cauldron out first, though, just because of the ordering of the sigils, so that he can draw a card once that one gets broken faster. Very good.
That way Master Mage Levi next turn will draw a card. And this is already settled. This flipped pretty hard onto SprayQuaza. He has Hector as a ward, but...
Okay, opting for the mutagenic bolt this turn, I would imagine, if Wizardess is the opening play.
1 play point now, even though the overlay said it was 6, and he now has a -2, but he still has 3 left to work with.
Yeah, the game doesn't understand Wizardess of Oz.
-5 mana, how does he do it?
How does he do it?
It's a good representation. That's a good representation of what the Oz did for him. Ramped him for 5 in 1 turn.
Piercing Rune, perfect draw here. Lets him clear the board again while dealing damage. Oh my goodness.
Into a Demonic
Strike. One
Strike.
Wizardess of Oz. I said I didn't know what he could draw, but Wizardess apparently. Good enough.
Death is another fiction.
Wow, this game's super flipped with that Wizardess. How amazing.
She's a pretty good card. I mean...
On the warfield, a shining
Pretty good.
After coming down 3... I think he's gonna go for just a flood this turn and hope that he doesn't die.
Yep, here's the top deck. If Kara can get 2 more damage here, win the game. That was
2 more
it.
damage. He just
There
won
he
the
goes.
game.
Dance of death. Yep.
I'm sorry.
Wow. Wow. CarePackage, my man, getting that top deck Wizardess. Awesome.
CarePackage may or may not have just been the luckiest Shadowverse player I've ever witnessed. Maybe.
Not only getting the Wizardess, but Wizardess into a way to clear the entire board.
Into just damage. He just kept drawing damage there, too. Like, he didn't break his 1-drops or 2-drops that don't do anything. He just kept drawing spells.
Yep. All good, all the time. Alright, now it comes down to... He was destined to win. The Dragon versus... the Rune deck. Let's see if Neutral Rune on the draw a little bit harder. If CarePackage gets a nice little ramp curve here, might be really hard for Neutral Rune to win. But Neutral Rune, again, as we see, has a lot of refill tools in Wizardess and things like that. So,
Blazing Breath is not as good on the play as it is on the draw, but it doesn't really matter. It's just going to do the same thing it would have in the first place.
So, CarePackage's hand doesn't look great yet, but Dragon can always top deck just ramp. That's all he really needs at this point. He's got a bunch of 10s in his hand and 9. So this might stall doom if he doesn't get anything
His hand is
cheap.
expensive. Ooh, Ayala into Blazing Breath. What a top deck.
I'm all tuckered out.
Perfect draw. 2-2, that when it dies, ramps.
Seems CarePackage is keeping up his tradition of top decking exactly what he needs.
Yep. Let's see if it
And
continues.
SprayQuaza, even
That's
though he
not
was
bad.
on the draw there, he played that Levi out because he needs something on the board to attack. Like Ramp Dragon, you cannot let them just play the game. Like you have to be aggressive as possible.
Yep. So, CarePackage getting yet another ramp card in the form of another Ayala that he can evolve next turn to ramp yet again. So, drawing, like you said, exactly what he needs.
He's already on 7. SprayQuaza's on 4 play points, and CarePackage is at 7 play points. If he draws Sahqueel, Israfil is devastating.
Even an evolved Ayala here is pretty good because that'll put him on 9 play points. Like with on the turn that he gets to use his second evolution orb, he could be evolving Israfil already.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, he's on 9 play points now.
And for those of you who don't know, Israfil is Redonkadonk.
Oh.
Okay, it's 9 play points for a big 8/8 beastie. When it comes into play, you gain 4 health, and whenever it attacks, it deals 2 damage to every enemy. Pretty strong.
CarePackage opting not to kill the Levi there to ramp. And he probably won't play the Grimner either. I imagine you don't... Protecting your Ayala is like the opposite of what you need. You want her to die. And Grimner is also a board wipe on 10, so...
Yeah, I'm not sure why not the ramp there, because if SprayQuaza makes the heads-up play of just ignoring the Ayala, then CarePackage actually doesn't have a relevant play for next turn.
Mm-hmm.
Very
His hand
interesting
is
choice, especially...
quite the brick.
A shining helmet.
You follow behind.
Hector onto a
Yeah, yeah, and
1-2.
It's like SprayQuaza knows. He's like, I'm going to keep you away from that as long as
Oh,
possible,
no!
but the top decks... Sahqueel basically allows CarePackage to cheat one of the neutral followers from his hand into play, and it gains rush for that turn and then gets bounced back to hand at the end of turn. So it could use that with the Israfil or the Bahamut, or Queen of the Dreadsea actually, to do some damage.
Yeah. You want to kill your Ayala off this turn so you can ensure that you're on 10 next turn. Realistically, because no flooding happened, the Sahqueel doesn't matter what she summons, as long as it's not Grimner.
Right. Grimner doesn't do anything, except for jam into a follower and die.
So crude.
It's not very useful. It's going to choose to reveal the Israfil here.
Unbelievable.
Now, to be fair, I have definitely Sahqueeled Grimners in the past when I've had to, but it's not what you want to be doing. Definitely not the optimal
He
place.
popped his last evolve to protect Ayala on the board.
Unbelievable.
I feel like CarePackage is just... He's playing Ramp Dragon, the opposite of what most players would do.
A shining
Yeah, I don't mind this now because he actually does have a 9 play point play. The turn before didn't really make that much sense, but he did top deck out of it.
I've got to take a break.
SprayQuaza donated it to him.
Oh, this is easy polyphonic roar in my book. Or this is easy actually, Queen of the Dreadsea into Israfil polyphonic roar. This is like an insane turn if he just wants to pop it. And I think this is the turn to do it.
Queen
I think that's an
Israfil
insane
Dreads.
play.
Yeah, that's pretty strong. You're also playing a deck that can really abuse 10 play points, so it's not like your top decks are ever bad here. So, whoa!
Goes with the Bahamut. Okay, not bad.
I'm sorry.
Just a different way about
That
going
pops
to do
your own queen. I guess he's trying to set up a lethal.
Yep, this does set up an easy lethal actually without a mutagenic bolt or a dance, but SprayQuaza does have the mutagenic bolt. However, even as such, that polyphonic roar is going to end the game right quick and in a hurry. Summoning a 5/5 with Storm every single turn.
A 5/5 dragon with Storm.
That's true. That's true. It is a dragon.
There are dragons.
If you like dragons,
SprayQuaza
polyphonic
considered
roar makes
evolving.
them.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, it wouldn't be the worst, because the rats, the flame rats that get left over by mutagenic bolts actually deal extra damage. So at the beginning of the turn, flame rats will deal a damage to both players, and then gets to attack for one itself. So that's actually 2 damage sitting on the board, not just 1.
Mm-hmm. And then you also have to add it to that 5/5 dragon popping out, so.
Weapons more.
Breath of the Salamander, not amazing.
Yeah, it doesn't need to use that this turn if he doesn't want to.
No.
Might want to save it for a potential Hector.
Ooh.
Decides not to, though. Okay. This is it. Okay. Dance of Death allows him to stay alive for another turn.
Yeah, the dragons do. If this 5/5's not removed somehow, then it does set up lethal. But I mean, it is just a 5/5.
That's true. And there is an evolution orb left, so Lyriel could have taken it out. Angel of the Word could have taken it out. So definitely options for that. Even Levy, but Dance of Death makes it clean. So I'd kind of like to see a Dance of Death plus Flood this turn, because it's really the only thing you can do. You're kind of on limited time now.
Dance of Death
Yeah,
Flood
I guess
into
you can't
what,
roll
though? You
Flood.
can only play one follower.
Yeah, right. You're right. You're right.
Flood
Maybe
for
not.
20%
Okay, so
of the
maybe...
board.
Yeah. Maybe you go like Angel of the Word into your 2/2 drops, your 2 other neutral 2 drops. You evolve the Faria to finish off the dragon with the Angel Ping, just to set up as big a board as you possibly can. But still, that's not going to be enough with the Dance of Death to finish off next turn, so... It's really just SprayQuaza trying to figure out what can he top deck to actually close the game out.
SprayQuaza does have to play to win at this point, but I don't know if he even has an option for that.
Okay, so he's opting with the play that I was talking about.
Like a bird, I sing.
This will set up
Just
a
gonna put the
potential
most
8
stats on
damage
board.
next turn. Yep.
Yeah. Unless Grimner.
Ooh. Grimner,
It used
off
to
the
be lethal,
teasy.
but it's not. It's not lethal.
Not quite
CarePackage
lethal,
sitting
but-
back, crossing his arms,
He's
letting
like,
the
I got
value of
this.
his deck play for itself. Yeah.
That's right.
Ooh, sparkly stuff. Gimme.
Yeah, that's gonna be game. Nothing SprayQuaza can do here.
5/5 Storm
Care
Dragon
Package
on the way.
taking it down with Queen of the Dread Sea, just as Rainey said, doing its thing.
Queen of the Dread Sea gives CarePackage the 2-1 win, and it looks like in this particular case it did end up overtaking the potential of what Neutral Rune had to offer. Now in this scenario, what sort of things would Neutral Rune be looking at in terms of a better draw, better options, or is there a better way to approach the matchup that you think SprayQuaza could have executed, Exo?
Realistically, the reason why I think Dragon's one of the best decks in the game is if it's on the play and it gets heavy ramp like CarePackage drew into, there's not really a deck that can beat it outside of combo. So there's not really much that you can do against it. I don't think that you could have played differently against it. I mean, especially with a turn where you're playing a 10 drop when your opponent's sitting on 6 play points that then executes a Bahamut into a Polyphonic Roar. Like, you're talking about 30 play points worth of value coming down on turn 6. It's like, alright.
What do you think about, I mean, amulets are different than followers, right? For example, Dance of Death is a card that just says destroy an enemy follower, right? And then deal 2 damage to the opponent. But you can't use that on an amulet. Is there a world where you feel like against Dragon, people should start bringing amulet destruction because of a card like Polyphonic Roar? Is that a world that makes sense?
If your game plan is to try to kill their Polyphonic Roar in your aggro deck, then you're definitely taking the wrong approach to it. You basically just have to ignore the fact that they can do those things, and you're just trying to kill them before they get large, or you try to play around them. Like, yes, they get to do all these crazy things, but then you go 1, 2, 3, 4, roach, bounce, roach, then they just die. You know what I mean? Like, or dimensional shift, like you said. But nobody's playing D-shift anymore, as we can see, to work around the Dragon game. So.
All right. Well, Queen of the Dread Sea really flexing its muscles there. But we will move on to the next match, which is going to be Lest versus Pancake Reaper. And we've had quite a long day today. starting from Kiramango and Gengar all the way down to what we just watched, Karen SprayQuaza. Let's take a look at Les versus Pancake. Les is a big name to talk about because he probably was one of the players that had some of the most innovation in his decks, even if that meant just a card or two, right? Most notably, taking a win off Imperial Dragoon in Season 1, as well as kind of, gosh, I'm blanking on the name, but there was a particular change. I mean, partway through Tempest of the Gods, after the patch happened, he was the first one to bring the ambush Shadowcraft follower, not Shadow Reaper, the other one, and he actually won a tournament off of that, able to...
Oh, Tenacious Ghost, right? Is that what it's called?
Tenacious... Oh, man. I just know it as that.
I don't know. We'll get
Ghost.
there. It's a 2-3 with ambush. Yeah, it's good.
And he was able to buff it up right at the end and take a close win against his opponent to grab another first place finish. But Les, incredibly strong player, the points leader of Season 1. So he's no joke, right? But HSK Pancake Reaper, I think, is really making a case. I mean, HSK in general is really kind of this team that we didn't really get to see a lot of in Season 1, but in Season 2, they're coming in and they're really, really strong. So, in this particular match, we've got Les with Shadow and Vengeance Blood, and then Pancake Reaper with Vengeance Blood as well, and then using Rune. So, I'm curious to see, it's going to be, I think, a Burn Rune list. I'm curious to know kind of what you think about these players, and kind of, I think we've already really seen a lot of these deck interactions. Maybe Vengeance Blood is not as common now as compared to Bat Blood. I feel like people are leaning towards the Bat archetype, the Bat Karabos archetype. What do you think Vengeance Blood provides that Bat Blood could not? Are there any stark differences in this matchup, Envy?
Yeah, definitely. So, Vengeance Blood I've always sort of compared to, I've compared it to Daria before. They put themselves at 10 on 4, and then on 5, Dark Air Jammer. And that's basically kind of what Daria decks used to do. On 5, they would just flood the board with so many stats, you couldn't do anything. Then you also just have the reach of blood spells. You also get to play like Razor Claw, you get to play free Blood Wolves off of Air Jammers, so Vengeance Blood is a much different game plan, even though most Blood archetypes are very aggressive.
Alright, so it looks like we'll be able to see exactly that play out, as Blood is the first deck up against Burn Rune. We've seen a ton of Burn Rune today. For new players out there, talk to me a little bit, Exo, as this match gets kicked off. What is Pancake looking to do? How do you play out a Burn Rune deck? And what are your strengths in this matchup?
Sure. So since this is open deck list and Pancake knows Les is running Vengeance Blood and not Bat Blood, I think that Rune is heavily favored, especially Burn Rune, because it does what it does best against a deck that damages itself. So realistically, Pancake is just going to wait until something like a Belphegor gets dropped to drop Les down to 10 himself, and then just start pushing things like Levi, Dance of Deaths, Demonic Strikes to just end the game as quickly as possible as soon as that happens. So in that fashion, I think Pancake actually has a huge edge in this matchup. Especially with how he chose to play this matchup with his banned out his opponent's Rune, so it's not good against his Vengeance Blood, while also getting to play his Burn Rune against Vengeance Blood. So we talked about the hand. What do you think?
Usually Vengeance Blood is able to, most decks are held off by Vengeance Blood's turn 5 and 6, but Burn Rune is really, really good at keeping that pressure.
It can literally just go around what Vengeance Blood is trying to do and try to do with stats and just go face with all of its burn. Doesn't have to even worry about the followers as much. And as you can see, he's kind of ramping up. He's got the Piercing Rune, he's got a Dance of Death, he's got a Wizardess to make them cheap if he needs to.
And Belphegor might not even be safe enough for Les to go with this turn. He actually goes for clearing the Dwarf Alchemist with his BKB here instead.
I think if you know Vengeance Blood and its matchups, I think Belphegor might be a card you just don't play in this matchup until you have something like a Diabolic Drain to get some life back. And what Diabolic Drain does is if you're in Vengeance, it only costs 1, normally costs 5. It'll deal 4 damage to a follower and gain you back 2 health.
Exactly. Or when you're able to combo her, your opponent's low on cards, you can combo her with maybe Dark General or Air Jammer just off the bat. Definitely not something you want to just put yourself at 10, because if you do that, Levi comes down, evolves, trades into her, and then you get slapped for 5. So it's not really worth.
Right, and this is kind of like a next level matchup, right? So like, oh, it looks like Pancake's not even caring. He's not waiting at all. What I was gonna say is, usually Rune tries to save its burn until Vengeance becomes active, but if you mind game enough as Vengeance Blood, you could just never do it, and then your opponent's just kind of sitting there doing nothing. But Pancake just opts to go the next level on top of that and says, I don't even care what you're doing. I'm gonna play my game plan. I'm gonna burn you out regardless. I don't care.
It's like gold to me.
And there, does Belphegor actually not even doing too much to Lest anyway. She comes in, draws 2 cards, deals 2 damage to him. Sounds pretty great, since she also evolves over this.
Yep, and then Dance of Death right into this. Very good turn for Pancake. Might even save it. Might just Halo Golem this turn and wait for Wizardess Dance of Death next turn.
He could have. He wasn't in any pressure. He's still at 20 life, so...
And Burn Rune also has the option to turn on that Blood can't play their spells game very fast by getting them to 4 and under, making Razor Reclaw and Blood Wolves even harder to play. Oh my goodness.
What a top deck.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
It won't be long now.
And Pancake can actually set up a lethal here
What real magic looks like.
if Les does not heal, and if he takes any damage.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see some wards here. I think you gotta
wards,
put the
wards have
wards. But yeah, if he uses this Razor Reclaw this turn, he's gonna die. Okay, plays this a Brewer, gains some life back. That's good.
It's my home.
And a Spider
Probably
Web.
Evo.
Probably evolving the Sabror here. No, it's Imp. Okay.
I like the Imp here. There's no Storm Followers out of Runes, so you're not too worried about that. You want to keep this a Brewer just to take care of another Master Mage Levi or Big Follower if you can.
Well, there actually is an incredible one, but he knows he's not playing Felice, so it doesn't matter.
Right. Right. Alright, so this is an Empty the Hand turn into Halo Golem to set up for Wizardess next turn.
Big Knuckle Bodyguard is pretty good here. You can just BKB into Dark General on the 8. You take no damage since you're already in Vengeance. Dark Air Jammer could be a consideration because it could possibly pull Spiderweb if he goes for the Emeralda instead. Wow.
This does set up a lethal if this Wizardess doesn't pull anything.
BKB into General was just more stats on board, though. That's interesting.
I am a fiction.
It's interesting. Let's see what he gets.
He got Master Mage Levi, but it's not good enough yet.
Gather round.
No, it's not. So we've got 4 damage plus 4 damage plus 3 damage. That's lethal. Vengeance Blood's gonna take this one.
You're kidding. No.
That's how flip-floppy this matchup can be. I think if Pancake would have just followed the original game plan of just waiting for Vengeance to deal damage enough to itself, he might have been able to take this one, but he went really aggressive, and Vengeance Blood had the right tools to finish the game.
He got very little effective value off of his burn, since Lest was going to do that damage to himself anyway, or Lest would have just sat there and done nothing for a pretty long time, since you kind of have to do that damage to yourself by playing the cards in this deck, so...
Although, yeah, because most of the cards activate off of Vengeance. If you're not in Vengeance, you're not really getting much value out of your cards, so... Pancake went to the 3rd level. Les was like, you know what, 3rd level was 1 level too many. You should have stayed on the 2nd level of thinking, and then you got punished.
Tried to hopscotch him and thinking, but he hopscotched himself.
That's right. Sometimes that 3rd level is going over the 2nd level of yourself. And that's just one step
Just
too many.
overthunk himself. Feels bad, man.
That's right. Alright, so now Lest has his, or no, I'm sorry, Pancake has his rune deck that needs to win 2 games now. Or am I wrong? What am I saying right now? No, Lest won. So Lest has his shadow deck that gets to run into
Less of the
2
shadow
decks,
deck,
right?
yeah, that needs to...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah.
It's okay. It's fine. I'm sure no one noticed at all.
No one to notice. Chat won't say anything about it, I promise.
Yeah, sure. Chat won't say anything.
Alright, so Shadow, of course, being one of the best decks, being the deck to have to win one game out of two, is in a really good situation for Les. So Les definitely with the advantage of this match.
He does have a bad
But as we-
matchup this round, though.
Yes, he does.
Shadow is kinda bad against Master Mage Levi, and just Burn in general at the moment.
Then again, Vengeance Blood's a pretty bad matchup versus Rune as well, but he managed to take that. So we'll see if he can do it again.
Although that game got kind of stolen, he kind of just
Yeah.
fell into it.
Fell into that victory, just like, alright, I have enough now.
Yeah, it just happened to have exact lethal, no big deal.
Okay, so
Dork
good starting hands from
Alchemist.
both players here.
Starting the board, yeah. Well, I mean, Pancake's hand is kind of clunky. He's got double taboos chilling over there.
It is clunky, but the Kaleidoscopic Glow is going to give him the tempo back this next turn. Oh, never mind. Just taking the damage out
Actually,
instead.
interesting to see Kaleidoscopic Glow too. You don't usually see that outside of spell boost decks.
Generally
Probably
in
there for the
Dirt Rune decks, it's kind of like in there as like a 1 of or a 2 of just for some extra value. It lets you reorder your sigils like we're seeing now. This isn't a reorder, but just it gets them used to cycle. It also on the draw is the only removal spell outside of Red Hot Ritual that can deal with 2-drops. So it's just a nice little like time walk type of effect, like where you get to basically remove what your opponent did, draw a card, and just see what next turn has to offer.
2-mana Time Walk. That sounds familiar.
What is that?
Point Time
What
Walk.
game has that? I don't know what that is.
I don't know. I think it's probably banned.
Yeah. Sorry, magic joke for those of you out there.
Lurching Corpse into Lyrial. Pancake's follow-up is gonna be kind of meh.
Yeah, this is kind of a stinker turn. This might just be a Piercing Rune just to get it out of the hand here. Take out the Lurching Corpse so he doesn't have to deal with it later. He's playing a
he's
follower
got
into
a
it,
plethora
especially.
of options next turn. He can go for that. He can go for
Yes.
that Oz if he saves Piercing Rune. Go for Oz Piercing Rune. Play Taboos. Play Master Mage Levi. And go for tons of different things. But this turn sucks.
This turn sucks, but yeah, double Professor and a Master Mage Levi and a Wizardess basically against Shadow means that as we normally see these matchups play out, like Shadow usually has more advantage as far as cards go. But with the hand that Pancake has, he has so many things to just deal with constant boards.
Les getting a bit aggressive here, while also redeveloping a Lurching Corpse is going to be pretty good.
Means Master Mage Levi is going to have a little bit of an issue here. If he wants to play it. It'll clear most of the board except for the 4/4 and kill itself in the process. So he's going to go with the Taboos instead.
Even Taboos could backfire here as well.
This sacrilege will save her.
Taboos could... So what Taboos does and why it's so strong is it's a 3/5, which is pretty unassuming in stats. But it can be evolved into a big 5/7. When any follower on the opponent's side of the board dies, you get a 2/2 zombie, and at the end of the turn, you get to ditch one of your sigils in play to do the effect of kill one of your opponent's followers, which again, in turn, puts a 2/2 into play. So, very good card.
It's also a random enemy follower, so that could have sniped Lurching
Yes.
Corpse.
True.
Want to play?
Wow, looks
But
like
it did not, and this
Zombie
is-
evolved here just for the value.
This is going to set up an insane Master Mage Levi turn.
He does trade, though, since Corpse...
Unbelievable.
I guess Corpse could be killed by one of the zombies first, if you want to keep the Levi.
Yep. So I would just go Zombie Face, Levi here, and then hope that the Lurching Corpse pops one of my little zombies.
Yeah, that's
instead
probably
of-
better. You do get the 4 face is probably just stronger than that.
You're mean.
The name's Levi. Don't forget.
That's what he does.
And Corpse
pop.
hits Master Mage Levi, of course.
Wins the lottery.
Although
So you could
realistically,
opt
like
in.
playing, like you're never gonna not play Levi there. Though that value was just
No,
too
of
much,
course.
even if it hits the
Of
Levi.
course. I mean, plus you already have a Professor of Taboos waiting in the wings to clear yet another board, which is probably going to be the play next turn.
Taboos and a Piercing Rune is pretty good.
Yep.
Doesn't have to evolve at all. Oh, he would, yeah, actually. Is the Piercing? No, the Piercing Runes too, yeah.
Piercing Runes too, yeah.
I'll save my
Yeah.
daughter.
Easy turn, easy life.
Taboo's looking really strong this turn. This looks insane.
Yeah. Putting the 2/2s seem quite unassuming, but at this stage of the game, you're talking about pushing lethal with a play like that. And there's not really much that Les can do. Les does have the Lyrial to take out the Professor of Taboos, and he can draw some cards this turn, so we'll see what he gets.
Could
Imagine
Lyrial
Chimera
can
in a
also? It's kind of weird though, because Lyrial can also kill Taboos, which is a top priority to get off the board. So if you draw first, it makes the Lyrial kind of weird. But I think you still just draw first.
Yeah, just see what your options are, because Lyrial's still going to be the play probably regardless, so... Yeah. And these zombies are going to get some free value, and Les is really out of options. If Pancake decides to clear board here, then Les doesn't really have much to do. He can Demon Eater into Necrosassin to kill a follower. If he top decks something, he might be able to draw cards, but he's really in top deck and save me mode right now. Ooh, Magic Illusionist. I guess not great because he doesn't have any sigils left. Oh no,
Yeah,
she will
she
because all these
too
followers
much.
are gonna die.
Don't forget.
So, Magic Illusionist puts back one of the highest cost followers that died this game. If it would have gotten taboos, killing off all of these skeletons on the opposing side of the board that Lest has would have generated even more zombies for the side of Pancake. Now, the downside of Illusionist is the follower gets removed at the beginning of your next turn, but it still gets rushed when it comes back into play and it gets to deal some damage.
Gather round.
Essentially just, when it's bringing back 4/4s, it's a 5 play point rush 4/4 that left a 4/4, pretty similar to Sawqueel. In the sense that it's just used for board control and developing a 4/4 at the same time.
Yeah, and in the high rolly scenario of getting Professor of Taboos can also generate an army.
I can also generate a zombie army. Although he wouldn't have any room for those Zambos anyway. He would be banished right now.
Ooh, Akhtar, great draw.
It does only get 3 Zombos, but that's actually enough. You kill the Illusionist.
One of the zombies.
Illusionist,
and
the other
Illusionist.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
2 Illusionists
all the
out there.
Illusionists. Lyrial makes it so he
There's
can
an
clear
Illusionist
board,
and a
though,
Magic
so-
Illusionist.
That's right.
Great naming scheme. You don't have to kill Levi because, like you said, it'll banish itself at the start of Pancake's turn, regardless of whether or not Illusionist still exists on the board. So it's just a trigger it adds to it.
So now we're down to the nitty gritty. I really feel like if there's a sigil drawn, Illusionist will start the tempo. No sigil though. So maybe
Oz evolve?
Levi into Oz? Yeah.
Watch these illusions.
Nope, going for the Illusionist
Something like
anyway.
that.
My daughter.
It was for
That's
Taboos,
high
so
roll
now
this
Oz
time.
evolves. Yeah. Oh, he's gonna go for Halo Golem?
It won't be long now.
Hit up all the Illusionists. Okay, saving Oz for that max value, I guess.
Their own.
What I would have done is played Master Mage, or not Master Mage, but the other Levi and evolved that plus the rush from the taboos because it's going to die anyway, and just got the Crimson Sorcery value.
But you wouldn't have gotten a Zombo.
Yeah, of course you would have, because the Ektar would have died.
If
You jam
Taboos
the
kills
3/5
himself on it,
taboos
you don't.
in.
No.
Well, no,
if
you
Taboos
don't.
trades with
Okay.
you don't get a Zombo. Yeah.
Okay, you're right. But you would have gotten
Because
the
Taboos is not
Crimson
allowed
Sorcery.
to see it. Yeah, you'd have a
Zombies.
fireball. True. That was a gamble too, because I could have sniped Taboos, which would have been a wasted effect. But there's only 10 damage on
Staring
him.
at. Yep.
He's staring at dead.
Staring at death.
He's staring at dead.
Burner doing what it does, finishing off Shadow as it should.
Yeah, I mean we've seen this matchup plenty of times throughout the entirety of the NGE Open, and almost every time I think we've seen Burnru come out ahead of mid Shadow.
Yeah, I think we saw either 1 or 2 games of Rune losing, but not because the deck lost, because the player made a mistake. I think in every scenario, had every player been playing optimally, I think Rune would have won 100% of all of its Shadow matchups. The Dirt Burn Rune variant.
The Burt Rune, yeah.
The Burt Rune, that's right.
The Burt Rune, yeah. Dirt Burn Burt Rune. It's a great deck.
Yep, Birdie Dirty. Let's go.
Mm-hmm. It's got that great Shadow matchup.
Alright, so here it is, game 3. Les versus Pancake. Let's see who can take it home. This is an interesting matchup. Before, Shadow always used to be advantageous versus Vengeance Blood because of cards like Phantom Howl and Cerberus and things like that. But with most of the new Shadow decks, they've been running away from Phantom Howl. A few decks still run them, but a lot of them don't. So Vengeance Blood has a lot more game for Shadow.
Bed and Succubus are both very interesting. But yes, I agree with that. I think Les Shadow is going to be kind of a different sort of matchup.
He's going to go for the value game, while Vengeance just going to try to do what it does. Present big boards, try to steal the game. And if you guys notice, Vengeance Blood has more ways to get itself into Vengeance than just Belphegor, especially if they're running cards like Blood-Fed Flowerbed, which is an amulet that will deal 4 damage to each player over time as it counts down, while things like Spiderweb Imp 2-play.14 that deals 2 to yourself, Big Knuckle Bodyguard deal 2 to yourself, Kill a Follower, Disagreeable Demon can deal 2 to yourself if your opponent doesn't have any followers in play, or it becomes a 2/3 ward, so plenty of ways to deal damage to yourself in the deck.
Let's have some fun.
Succubus is an interesting one too, since it's another way of dealing damage to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Succubus is basically a card that works on top of that. Yep. You deal damage to yourself, Succubus says, hey, if you have less health than your opponent, they take 2. So kind of gives you advantage back for dealing damage to yourself.
See you around.
Still no way to
Les
get past
is just kind of stuck.
Either.
This one imp is stuck Les on like the back burner for a while here.
I kind of even just like Urias plus another imp to protect the Urias, because Urias is going to get really good value if it can't get removed here.
Right. It's not a turn that BKB gets much value. BKB is kind of whatever.
Yeah. And Urias is a 2-play follower 1/3 that whenever an enemy follower comes into play, they take 1, which is really good against Shadow because they have cards like Bone Chimera, Immortal Thane, as you see in hand, just things that put multiple units in play at the same time.
Blood-Fed Flowerbed, doing its full 8 damage for 1 mana. It's gonna disappear next turn.
You're breathing too loud.
And even though you've seen Blood be advantaged this entire time, look at the scoreboards. This is why Vengeance Blood is one of the harder decks to play, because you really have to understand how to play around with your life total. Because you're essentially doing damage to them, but you're killing yourself at the same time, so.
That is true. No Vengeance for this turn kind of hurts.
Yeah, Dark Age Armor, definitely the optimal play, but can't do it.
It's not like BKB is bad or anything. You put yourself in Vengeance for next turn, and you also evolve and keep the BKB, so.
What the heck is going on?
But running out of options too. No Belphegor to redraw, no Diabolic Drains to manipulate the life total. So I want to say that Lest is in the driver's seat at this point,
Phantom Howl.
and is running Phantom Howl. Okay, never mind.
That's huge.
That actually puts
Pancake's
Pancake
at the
on
threshold
this
of an evolved
turn.
Yeah.
I haven't let loose lately.
This is just it if Pancake doesn't put up a ward next turn.
That one didn't count.
He only has a random chance at 1, so.
Yeah, that's right. There's only 1 imp left in the deck.
This is my
And he got
Does
it.
get it.
You are my
Does get it. Whew.
He got there.
Doesn't
Wow,
know
he's
how
actually
lucky
gonna
he is
evolve the
just
blood.
yet. He knows he has to win. He doesn't have time.
No dirtling allowed in Shadowverse.
Nope. Man, that
Zombie
imp.
Party, kind of an
Whew.
awkward draw.
Alright,
Since
so I
Soul
wanna
Squasher
say
already kind of
Soul
gets rid of that
Squasher?
anyway. Yeah, it's weird.
But then Zombie Party doesn't really have a real target outside of that either, so this is kind of an awkward turn.
Well, it does if you
Actually,
want
is
to
there a
slap
way to-
Mimi onto it also, but...
They're so fresh.
It's also got an Emeralda coming down next turn. He does slap Mimi onto it. Rutro. Goes for the full clear.
Safe bet. Gotta clear everything. This does take Phantom Howl out of the range of killing in one shot. Unless that 4-3 remains in play, which we know it won't.
Right. Emeralda will take care of that for sure.
And deal an extra 4 points of damage. Emeralda, one of the strongest new additions to Blood, and a 7-play .45 that kills an enemy follower or amulet when it comes into play, and if you're in Vengeance, also gains Storm. Very strong.
She's pretty good.
Yeah, it's alright.
Definitely
One
not
of those
name
easy ways to deal
Esmeralda.
with Polyphonic War without actually thinking about it.
Yeah. It's a very quick slap down. I guess he's considering... I don't know what he's considering. Disagreeable Demon would gain Ward if he played it right now.
I think he's just basically doing the math of every possible play plus Phantom Howl next turn to see if he can prevent lethal, or if lethal is available to Lest if he just plays out the Emeralda this turn. Because at the moment there's 7 damage. Like if you're basically putting your opponent on the place of they have it
gonna go
because
for
it's
that.
the only way I can lose. Okay.
Gonna go for
Then this does kinda make
Disagreeable
sense.
Demon Pass. Doesn't even play the Blood Wolf out.
Actually, with 4 extra dudes, 3, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so that's only 7 damage. If he plays the Ektar, that's 6, 7, 8. No, just 6 damage. Okay, so there's no lethal possible this turn.
I mean, however, jamming down Thane and attacking the ward is pretty good.
This Disagreeable Demon play might have just lost Pancake the game. Like, the Emeralda would have put him into I can win this game position, and this Disagreeable Demon is basically just saying, I'm going to give my opponent an extra turn to beat me, which you can't really afford to do right now.
I think that was way too conservative of a play when you're playing such an aggressive... I don't know. He must plan to draw something to make that play worth it.
There's not a singular card that he can draw to make that play worth it, though. Like, even
Evolve,
a Dark
though.
General. Yeah, without an Evolved Orb,
Yeah.
there's not a singular card.
Oh, that's
Very
so
interesting.
weird.
And
Yeah,
Dark-
Thane's just gonna get jammed. And that's just gonna be too much value, man. Like, that's...
Ugh, wish I tried harder.
And now I don't know how Pancake can win this game now with that Disagreeable Demon play. That's just it.
Can't. Game's over.
Game's over. Pancake
Play-
just throwing
you
that
play
one away.
Emeralda on the Thane. You take 2 from even doing that, and then it's just right there.
Yep, we got Ektar, you got Phantom Howl plus Mimi and or Coco, depending on whatever one's left in hand, and then that's game.
What an interesting play from Pancake, man! I would be so interested to hear why he did that instead of Emeralda.
Because if you consider all of the math options, there's no way for Phantom Howl to kill you with 7 play points with only half of the Mimi Coco in hand. And there's just no way to finish the game out, so basically just threw it away. And I think Pancake realizes that now, and he's just like, man, what did I do?
It's possible. I mean, I think he realizes at this point that he's now dead. He may not be blaming last turn for it. I'm not sure. We don't know. Like, he was clearly on some kind of different play. He saw some different line and decided it was better.
So, no fault to Pancake for taking his time here. He wants to know if there's any way you can possibly stay in this game.
Time for fun and games.
We know that that's not possible with what's in Lest's hand.
It just goes face, even though something you can do. Even if you pop one of the one of the whites with the effect and attack a white, you're still just staring down too much damage. So
Lost. You're tough.
And Les takes that one. Get on Lest.
definitely an interesting way for the game to end.
Now, when we take a look at that game, Lest winning 2-1, I think there's something to be said about the decisions that you have to make when you play an aggro deck, right? It's not as cut and dry necessarily as, you know, am I just going to swing face all the time? Even though most of the time that does end up being the answer. It's how willing are you to step out into that territory, right? But there are considerations in terms of board control that need to be respected. And obviously, it really seemed like Pancake was not confident in the fact that he would be able to survive if he just didn't play the defensive cards at that point. But that might be considered the difference maker between, you know, a MVP of the season and maybe somebody who's just playing at a very, very high level and super competitive. So Pancake Reaper ends up falling just a little bit short. Now, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about how you think playing Vengeance Blood best fits into kind of in this tournament when you see things like Ramp Dragon, when you see things like Haven Aegis, when you see all these other control decks. Where do you kind of reel in the line of like, okay, this is the point where I think everything is emergency and I need to control the board? At what point do you make that decision, and how do you better identify whether it's a good time to do that or not? Exo, maybe if you could help.
Sure, yeah, so Vengeance Blood, it's actually a lot easier. Like, the deck itself is hard to play to know how to use your cards effectively, but the mindset of what you should do in the game is pretty clear-cut. So with Vengeance Blood, because all you're trying to do is deal damage to your opponent to win the game as fast as possible with all these big followers, the only thing you really need to be thinking of is, how can I lose? Is it possible for me to lose next turn? How? And then make sure that that's not possible, and then push as much damage as you can. And essentially, you just ask yourself that same question every single turn. Can they kill me? No? Great. Damage. Can they kill me? Yes. Prevent that particular situation from happening? Damage. And then just continue on that path.
And so really it seems like understanding very deeply what you're matching up against and what your opponent's options are is the key to a good aggro player. And definitely
you have to know every situation.
And Pancake Reaper kind of really saw the deficits of making a wrong read there. So we will be moving on to our last match of the day, Pancake Reaper versus Shadow Nexus's Care. And this will be really interesting, just because Pancake Reaper is coming off a loss, but his deck lineup is very, very different here. And it seems like we see always maybe one or two situations where a player will submit two different deck types for different opponents that they're facing off against. Let's talk about this a little bit, because this is interesting. This is one of the other Forest decks that was banned. The first one was PTP Forest, Path to Purgatory. The second one is another iteration of a Roach, Beauty and the Beast. And then his other his other decks is Vengeance Blood and Nep Shadow. And then for Shadow Nexus's Care, it's Mid Shadow and then Dread Dragon. So very similar to what he used against SprayQuaza. Why do you think Pancake Reaper submitted a Forest lineup against this? I know in the European broadcast we kind of identified when you run Forest into something that's Haven oriented, in Control Haven particularly, something like Aegis or Seraph, you're actually in a really good spot because you have a lot of time to set up your combo. But in this case, is that same statement true against Dragon? Is that kind of the philosophy that they're looking at?
It's, I don't know, Forest in this matchup doesn't really make that much sense unless, there was a very specific read that, or maybe they've been playtesting with each other or something to that effect, to where, maybe CarePackage doesn't have a lot of experience against PTP or something, so he felt like it was a nice little in to beat him specifically. But outside of it, as far as the matchup is concerned, you don't really want to be playing PTP into stuff like Dragon. It can win, but it's not like, it doesn't put you in the best position to. But of course, Care was afraid of it, so maybe Pancake did have a good read on him, because he did ban it out.
So with Forest banned, our last matchup of the day is about to go underway, but would like to take one last time to tell you, Shadowverse at PAX West, check it out. Exodium will be there. Come and play the game. Talk to Exodium. Talk to the other fans out there. So make sure to meet us in Seattle, and of course, we will be here watching the broadcast from home. Exodium is going to be streaming a little bit, and there's going to be a lot of cool things happening over there. So make sure, if you're attending, you go and do that. And we are about to wrap up the second week of the North American Round Robin. Pancake Reaper versus Shadow Nexus's CarePackage. Let's see who takes the advantage in this match. And I think we're going to be starting out with Bloodcraft versus Dragoncraft. So again, it's the aggressive versus the ramp. Oh man, and let's talk about the mulligans a little bit. What is the philosophy behind Dragoncraft mulligans here?
So Dragoncraft against Vengeance Blood is kind of a bad matchup. Like, Dragon usually is on the back foot because of how much damage that Vengeance Blood can represent if they have a Belphegor on 4, which we know Pancake does already. So he's really just looking to ramp as fast as possible. If you can ramp, again, just like any matchup, you can maintain board control, and Dragon does have enough life gain to stay back in the match, but Vengeance Blood definitely has the edge here, especially with Belphegor being drawn.
On the play, Belphegor is really strong. When Vengeance Blood was first sort of popping up as a new deck, it was basically like the way to beat Dragon, even when they had all of the old OP stuff like Ouroboros or whatever. All the stuff that's been changed in Dragon since then.
Yeah, Belphegor just basically pushes you into Vengeance quickly. It's a 4/4 that Dragon might have a problem dealing with, and it draws you more gas. So essentially it just keeps pushing what Vengeance Blood wants to do against Dragon. Because Dragon's not known, if you have seen all of the Dragon matchups, to be able to push that 10 damage in any relevant type of fashion early in the game. So it's like a no-worry type of play playing Belphegor here. Also activates Succubus, so extra
safe,
damage from that. Yeah.
I want it. It's like gold to me.
You can also just
More damage
completely
getting
ignore
into
Ayala
turn.
here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Every
Well,
time.
It's very safe.
Wow.
Oh, we actually rammed some.
I better take a break.
Interesting.
Not sure about that play. Yeah. That opens up the fervor that was just drawn. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been an excellent play for CarePackage this turn. Goes for the Uriel anyway. Okay.
There's a lot more where that came
Ural's kind of
from.
interesting. It's just finding Polyphonic Roar, but it's interesting that that CarePackage considers Polyphonic Roar so strong that he would run a search card for it.
See you around.
Yeah, in the deck, having one of Uriel is not too bad just to fetch Polyphonic Roar. In this matchup, I think all he was trying to do was use his play points effectively to clear the board, not really to search out the Polyphonic
for
Roar.
sure. Yeah.
Because this might
In
give
this
him
certain
some breathing
situation,
room to
yes.
cast Fervor. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe.
Maybe. Because playing Fervor there could get you so far behind that you can't catch up. But, yeah, that play's not bad. Clearing board is never bad.
Leaving
So
the
now
random
Pancake,
5-1
obviously.
is also kind of weird for Pancake, too. I mean, if you pop Hungering Horde or Sabor on this, I guess Hungering Horde probably makes the most sense.
Yeah, because you want to keep
Could
the
also
Vengeance.
Diabolic Drain Belphegor again.
Yeah, I don't mind that play at all. Keeping yourself in Vengeance, drawing back up to maximum hand size.
Gold to me.
Double Urius.
Not what you want to see in the Dragon matchup. We've seen a stark lack of Dark Generals in all of our Vengeance Blood games. Where are those cards at?
We
We saw it
one,
in the
like,
game-winning turn in one game, but that was
Yeah.
it.
A few hours ago.
Right, exactly.
I forget who had it at this point.
Alright, so CarePackage thinking here, he's like, alright, how do I need to execute my next couple turns so I don't die? Can I ever fit a Fervor in? I think he has to wait until next turn, so where he can play Fervor with something else. So this turn might just be like a Grimnir Evolve turn. He could just
Breath of
he
Salamander
could blow
would
for
kill
the
Belphegor,
Fervor.
but it's not value, so...
Right. Right. At least the Grimnir leaves something in play. Okay.
Never mind,
Officer
goes
of
for
Breath,
it.
though.
Again.
Alright. Pancake with a ton of options. Blood Wolves are kind of scary. Like, he's got 2 Blood Wolves and 2 Razory Claws in hand, which is basically 8 damage to his own face, so he's got to be careful.
Pancake
Doesn't
also
have any of
might
the
be
payoffs.
incentivized to flood here a little bit, having seen Care use a Breath of Salamander, unless he assumes Care also has Conflagrate.
Ow.
Yep. It's a perfect turn to flood. Of course, we see CarePackage does have a follow-up Breath of the Salamander, so we'll be able to deal with this. Not all of it, but most of it. Now imagine if there was just like random Forte right now. So good.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Ooh, Lucifer.
Okay, Lucifer could add some interesting complexity to this game. So if Pancake does put himself down to 4 next turn in some fashion, and doesn't kill Care, then Lucifer Evolve could just end the game instantly. So
Yeah,
this is going to be an interesting couple of turns.
I think Pancake will know he can't put himself to 4.
Yeah. I think Fervor and Breath is still the best play here. Like, you need to continue ramping. You need to get to Grimnir on 10 play points in order to try to start stemming the bleeding here.
Mm-hmm.
Plus get active Zeus in play, which is an awesome tool against Vengeance Blood.
As far as Pancake goes, I'm pretty sure just slapping down Sebroar into one of those Uriases is going to be what he ends up going for.
I am the Mad Cyclone.
Could even
Oh, now we
Bloodfed
play the
if he's
Grim.
feeling a little aggressive. Okay.
Yeah, true. Bloodfed is
Grimnir
also
this
good.
turn makes literally no sense to
My
me.
power's uncontrollable.
It's definitely less impactful
Like-
than it was before, especially killing that wolf.
Huh. I don't know if I like that turn. I don't know if that did enough for him. Now Hungering Horde is an option to clear and to keep pushing here. But again, he's got to be careful. If he puts himself at 4, he's going to lose the game, so he can't do that.
Well, just playing Sebroar puts you at 8, so...
That's true. Sebwar plus Hungering Horde, I think, is the best turn here. You get Hungering Horde. You can even Evo Urias here to push for even more damage. Get CarePackage down to 6, which does put him into double Razor Claw range for a 2-turn lethal.
This ache, this thirst, quench them.
Also, I mean, because of the way CarePackage played last turn, Lucifer is now just his better play, even if all it does is heal you. So, once that becomes knowledge, Pancake will never put himself at 4 without just killing.
Right.
He might go for a Razor Claw Evolve here, though. I think Hungering Horde makes a lot more sense. I don't think you're ever going to get a chance to make use of...
Right. Plus, like, saving the Razor
Yeah.
Claw is just for face here. Okay, so he's going to play the second Urias, essentially just to get more damage out of followers that Care plays. This is not the worst play.
No more.
It does mean less damage overall, though. It doesn't set up a turn 2 lethal if the board gets cleared this turn.
Ow.
Well, at least we know that it can't from CarePackage's side. Sockwill
Sock,
into
well,
Lucifer
not
is
looking
much
so
better than just
great.
Lucifer. That's much
it-
better than just
no-
Lucifer, though.
Not necessarily, though. Those Uriases, that basically just negates the life gain from Lucifer.
But if you just summon Lucifer, then that negates the life gain from Lucifer.
Well, not really, because you still gain an extra 2, but then again, you don't kill anything, so...
Yeah, you don't kill
This
anything.
is a rough turn.
Not killing anything is... Yeah.
This is a really rough turn that Care's put himself in.
So if you play Lucifer, you go to 10. Lucifer goes to 10.
Uh-huh.
Sockwill Lucifer kills 2 things, but just keeps you at 8.
Right. That's still probably the best play. It's really the only thing he can do this turn. I mean, he can Fervor and play Grimnir, but that seems pretty loose.
Mm-hmm. I think the time for Fervor is much gone, and there he goes for the Fervor. Right when I say that.
Care has literally played every single turn this Dragon game differently than I would have. So I mean, he's got his own mindset about it for sure. But this keeps him at a relatively low life total. It does put a ward up,
My power's uncontrollable.
but is that going to be good enough?
Well, I mean, we know it's not good enough. Hungering Horde, double
No, it's
Razor
not.
Claw, 3 attack for face.
And even the Dark General for more face if he needed it. So yeah, that was it. Care Package taking an L here.
Taking that L. Lucifer, proving that he's not that great.
Empowers me.
Yeah, terrible. Don't play him.
Yeah, he's not that great.
All right,
Used to be
Pancake
incredible.
winning the matchup that he should. I mean, technically speaking, Vengeance Blood is really good against dragons, so this matchup is favored. So he is taking the favored matchup away. And now he's got to pilot his Shadow deck into Dragon and Shadow. So Shadow, again, not the worst deck to be having to pilot for 1 game out of 2 or to win 1 game out of 2 games. So now, again, Pancake with the advantage.
I think I remember hearing Rainey say, I think it's a Nephthys deck, though. So...
That's right. Actually, you're right. Nephthys is really well positioned against Shadow and Dragon. So actually 2 good
Yeah.
matchups for him here. That's right. If it is Neph, then yeah. Might actually just take this one out 2-0 with good matchups.
One of Nep's best matchups in the game is Ram Dragon. So
Father, come on.
Namely for its ability to pull out Underworld Kawi. And it's the Ledger version of Neptus, which is even better against Dragon because it gets mid-game value also.
yeah, I mean, I think most of them have just. Why is he running voices? I think most of them have just switched to the Ledger version. There's no reason to waste because Ledger also gets things out of your deck that would make your Nep worse. So I think there's no reason not to just cycle like that.
Definitely, it's worse against the aggro decks because you're not doing anything essentially on turn 4, but it's definitely better against the control decks, which is exactly what he planned to play against. So very good deck
For sure,
choice.
yeah. In
And
fact, I
again,
remember
just to explain-
in the beginning.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go for it.
I was just going to say, just a quick overview of how Nepthys decks work again for those of you who don't know. You play 4 different followers, or 4 different cost followers in your deck, like whether it be 2, 3, 7, 8, like most decks do, so that when you play Nepthys, it's guaranteed to pull the followers you want to get the actives that you want, with Kawi being the big deciding factor along with Mord against Dragon. Kawi, when it dies, it destroys your opponent's strongest follower, you gain its power and health, and Mordecai a 5/5, basically unkillable 5/5 follower, which Dragon cannot get rid of unless they run something to banish.
Exactly. Ooh, triple Bahamut. That's not good.
Not yet.
Well, I mean,
Not yet.
even still, like I was gonna say, like that was the reason, one of the reasons that Ram Dragon started even playing Polyphonic War in the first place was that it was quote unquote good against Nephthys Shadow because Nephthys Shadow preyed on you so hard.
Yes. Polyphonic War is your best option in Dragon to beat Nep because it is just consistent value that you can technically outpace Nephthys' endgame with it, and they have no way to kill it. It's basically Dragon's Mord against Nep Shadow.
Double Ledger gonna result in double Liches, putting 8 power on board turn 5.
That mid-game value. And especially these voices, like voices are also anti-dragon tech in a big sense because for 8 play points, you get 2 1/1s with Storm and Death Touch, which can kill pretty much anything Dragon plays. So basically having all the tools here.
8 play points to kill any 2 followers in Dragon is actually huge. So
Makes Queen of the Dreadseed turns without Polyphonic Roar not so valuable. Discard your entire hand, play out these 2 gigantic followers, and then voices is like, clean up!
Cleanup crew coming through. Although if those 2 followers were just, Genesis Dragon and Zeus, they already got their value.
Yeah. Most of the time,
Ledger
Genesis
summoning
Dragon has
another
been...
Lich.
Genesis Dragon has been
been
removed from the decks because of Dragon Summoner randomly pulling it, and because... actually, that's really about it. You don't want to pull Genesis Dragon with the Dragon Summoners.
That's the whole reason.
Yeah, that's pretty much the reason.
I think Care's play this turn is probably Sockquill Bahamut, Evolve Sockquill Bahamut the 6/6, I imagine.
Could do it with Zeus too, either way.
Yeah. Depends on which one you want to show, I guess.
Yeah, can't do it with Grimnir yet again. Poor Grimnir, just sitting there. Never a
Poor
Sockquill
Grimnir.
target. Sockquill, please play with me! One day, come on!
Although, to be fair, you don't play Sockquill to summon 3 drops. You play her to summon giant, beefy 10 drops, so...
Fighting is so cruel.
Yeah. Honestly, you know what? I probably just would have gone for a Fervor to get to max to 10 sooner. Just because, like, using the Evo point here doesn't really feel good because you're not doing anything relevant, and Nep Shadow's not going to beat you if you heal and go low this turn. And then you can just start slamming your Bahamut's. Like, one of the easiest ways to beat Nep Shadow with Dragon is to just ramp to 10 as fast as possible. I know that's how you win most games with Dragon, but you get to slam down your Bahamut's
Simplifying
early.
the strategy here.
Right, right. You get to play out your Bahamut's early, and hopefully early enough that Shadow doesn't draw its Nep or its Underworld Kawi's at the same time, because technically, as we see, Pancake doesn't have either of those things. So had the early ramp happened, maybe these Bahamut's would have been lethal faster.
What you're saying, I think, is that Ramp Dragon should, instead of trying to go over Nep Shadow, since Nep Shadow has the better late game, it wants to go under Nep Shadow.
Correct.
It
Very
wants to
eloquent way of
ramp
putting
up
it.
there.
Thank
Go
you.
under them. 7-5 Pluto coming down, and like you said, Bahamut could have been playable this turn, but it's not.
Master could eat you.
I am the Mad Cyclone.
Now he's just scrapping for some defense here, but as we know, that's not going to be doing anything. And honestly speaking, this could just be an easy Mord Evo, 4 damage to face, and like, who needs Nep combo?
Duels never end. He's drawing the Mords himself. He doesn't even need Nep.
Yep.
And these voices are huge too, because Zeus would be an okay play, you know, for the defensive against Mord, but it's not when you have voices.
Yeah, he's just got all the things he needs. He has the second Mord to basically make Bahamut unplayable. Like, I mean, not unplayable, but it doesn't do anything ever.
Can't attack him ever.
Yeah, as we know, Bahamut says you can't attack your enemy if you have at least 2 followers in play, and if you have 2 Mords in play, Bahamut just like, oh boy. And that's pretty much all Care has access to is Bahamuts. This is not looking good at all.
Yeah,
We waited a little too long to get to 10.
This is actually just almost always lethal, no matter what Care does here.
Yeah,
If you play Zeus and kill the Mord, you don't die.
In a vacuum, like in my mind, if I was playing on ladder, I wouldn't even consider Voices of Resentment being in this deck. So I would just jam Bahamut here.
Yep.
Because I don't think that Mord's going to be enough to kill me, and it'll at least put me in some kind of an advantageous spot, and then just die to the Voices. But yeah, Care's kind of in a bad spot regardless.
However,
right?
they have deck lists, so Care knows that card exists.
That's true. Okay,
And if
so he's
Zeus
gonna go
kills
for
the
Zeus.
Lich or goes face, he loses. And he loses.
Yep. That'll be game.
Voices of Resentment, dude. Best card
Too
Shadow's got in Take 2.
So Pancake convincingly taking this one 2-0 against CarePackage. I think CarePackage maybe a little flustered this match. I don't think he was making optimal plays, but not to hold anything against him. Pancake playing optimally and doing very well. Both games with really good matchups, so good on him. Good job, Pancake.
There it is, 2-0 to Pancake Reaper, and Care just could not make his Dragoncraft deck work a second time, and perhaps maybe having to think about his strategy and think about his decision making in terms of the matchups that he's getting. And I think really the key here is Pancake Reaper on his deck construction. He seemed very well prepared,
Optimal lists against the lineup that he was facing. And I think that the other thing that Care might have done wrong is he banned the wrong deck. Like, banning the PTP Forest deck when he had Dragon as an answer to it might have been yet another thing that he could have changed to maybe optimize his play in this match.
There's definitely a lot that goes into the preparation for some of these players in this match and kind of how they want to set themselves up for success. And actually a lot of that is very information based, and that's one of the benefits of all these teams that you see these players playing for. Shadow Nexus, as well as Howlin' Sky, as well as Mana Surge that we see today. A lot of these teams will contribute into that preparation, and I'm sure CarePackage next week he's going to come back, think about a lot of the matches that he played today and make some adjustments. But with that being said, Pancake Reaper 2-0 to win against Shadow Nexus's Care. So we're going to have some updated standings here for you guys at the conclusion of week number 2. And what's really interesting for me to look at is the difference between the North American region and the European region, because there was a lot of discussion about that, where Europe was kind of, there were a lot of people competing in community tournaments in Europe, but not really in the sense of competing in the Shadowverse Open. As well as just, I think Europe, in terms of attending events, has been a lot less prominent. And so it's good to see them side by side, whereas in Europe we have 2 individuals that are 3-0 in their group. I don't think that's going to be the case in North America. The lead is not quite as strong. So, from the decks and the gameplay that we've seen today, MV, what has so far been your favorite moment?
All the Forest bans. Where
Why?
deserves to be.
Why?
Oh no, please.
If you're not playing PTP Forest, I don't care if it gets banned. I don't care. If it's not PTP.
Wow. If it's not
don't wanna see
PTP,
it.
it's not for me.
Oh.
That's how it rolls for NV. It's like that little poem that I made there. What about for you, Exodia?
Yeah,
I like it.
Thank you.
Honestly, I think the entire day was good. Like, I know yesterday I had very specific moments I liked. I think today, like, the matches were great. I think everybody was well prepared for what they were doing. I think that was, if there's anything that I can say about today, is that all the players felt very prepared about what they were going to go in against today. And I think that was definitely a change from Europe. Europe, I think they just brought a lot of good decks and played them against each other. I think America did a lot of their homework, or North America, sorry, did a lot of their homework and knew what the matchups they were going to be playing and optimized for that. So very cool.
I think a lot of the numbers were kind of shaken up and going by that same theme that 3030 in Europe really shows that there are actually people that are running away with it. In North America, the competition seems much tighter, so let's take a look at those numbers more formalized here. Gengar with a 2-0 score line, and Les with the 2-0 score line there. And then we have Jay-Z and Pancake 2-1-2-1. Cure Mango and Shadow Nexus Care 2-1, while Cure Mango is 1-1, tied with Underwear at 1-1, and then BanHackRocks and Noah at the bottom of Group A at 1-2 and 0-2. Meanwhile, on the other side, BoltTools, SprayQuaza, and DocHack on the bottom three at 1-1, 0-2, and 0-2. So that's how the groups are playing out. There's a lot more people kind of in that mid-range here, and especially take note of that position 3 and position 4, for example, where Care and BoltTools are and Mango and Underwear are, because that's really the cutoff, right? That's that really important spot where somebody might not make it to that playoff stage and might not have a chance at that $60,000 prize pool. So, with that said, we saw a lot of forest decks kind of submitted, but only one of them played. Why? Do we think next week is going to be the same case? I mean, in many ways, if you get your Forestcraft deck banned, right, even if Forestcraft may not be in your eyes a particularly strong deck, does that not help push your strategy forward in the sense that, oh, now my other 2 decks are available, and it might be something that is very meta that, I mean, normally maybe Blood would be banned, but now you can get away with running Blood. Why do you think that people are going to continue kind of throwing really curveball decks here to try to bait out bans?
I think it's a great strategy. Any kind of mind game you can throw at your opponent to optimize what you can do against them is going to help you. So, I mean, if you throw decks out there that people are like, holy crap, I don't know what to do about that, and it gets banned, then yeah, you can execute whatever strategy you want to. So, super fun thing to do.
What about for you, Envy? Do you have a disagreeing thought with that?
I think people just play Forest because it's a pet deck. I don't think
it's their identity.
I don't think it has any good matchups at the moment outside of Roach combos against like Aegis Haven and Dragon maybe. And I think people bringing it are not expecting it to, I don't know. I'd be interested in hearing why they think it would do really well. Neutral Forest maybe, but then you're just playing neutrals and L1 Assault. So I don't know. I think it's a pet thing.
Well, that's definitely what I would do if I was playing in this tournament. I would just bring Forest all day long, and then I would lose, and then I would cry. But to wrap up this broadcast, PAX West, go to Seattle, meet and play Shadowverse as I nearly break my pen. Shadowverse.ng.io is a website that you can go to for tournament information, broadcast times, news articles, interviews, all that kind of great stuff. Also, all the deck lists that these players are bringing, you can find at the bottom of the website. It's all logged, so if there's a deck that you think is particularly fun that you want to try, go there and check it out. At Shadowverse Game is going to be the Twitter account. That's our social media. You can find announcements, updates, all that kind of cool stuff. Also, sometimes a little bit of fun highlights and stuff like that there. So make sure you take a look at that particular channel. And I think for today, that means that North America Week 2 has wrapped up. And so we are going to be looking forward to next week, week number 3, and that's when some decisions will be made for the playoffs. But it's been a pleasure. I'm Rainey. That's Molly Rogers. That's Justin Carter. And this has been the Shadowverse Open. We'll see you next week, 10 a.m. PST on this Twitch channel.